What? Just typing up a tweet, Jordan. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back from the All-Star break. Hopefully you guys had a good time. Maybe won some money playing NHL or PGA or something. A bunch of other people did. Hey, take advantage of that or do absolutely nothing. Doesn't matter. We're back. We got 9 games today and an interesting little wrinkle of a development that just happened shortly before this show started. Anyways, glad to have you guys with us. This is the Stokastic.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by No House Advantage. They got the free square today, baby. Take advantage of that. I already threw my card out there on Twitter. And Adam Scher under the weather, but we got a special treat for you. No one better to fill those shoes than Rayen Patnaik. Dude, I got it locked now. You know him as Rinpack, rocking the shades today, just returned from India. Been an adventure for you, man. What's going on?
Yeah, I was went on a little vacation. I didn't take a vacation in a long time to India. I got to see some extended family. Pretty much all my family lives there, so we had a wedding to attend there. I ended up doing a little 4-night stay in Bangkok in between. Checked out the hotel where The Hangover was filmed. It was a nice little trip to Bangkok, and now I'm back. It was the longest time I've taken a break from DFS in about 7 years. So I'm excited to get back into the swing of things. And here we are, a 9-game slate. We got some crazy news already to start off the show.
You went to the Hangover Hotel?
I did. It was the Sky Tower at the Labua. It was awesome. It was one of the best rooftop bars I've been to in the world. I mean, I'm a big rooftop bar guy, and that view is pretty surreal.
That's awesome. All right, so let's do this first, just for anybody that had maybe watched the strategy show, paid attention to some stuff throughout the day, but hasn't been paying attention to everything over the last like 30 minutes. So 19 minutes ago, we got Blazers plane is now taking off to Sacramento because we knew there were some weather concerns. They hadn't taken off early, they hadn't departed earlier in the day. We'll continue to update, but Thursday's game appears on track to be played. Then Damian Lillard, unlikely to be play. Then he's ruled out. Jeremy Grant ruled out as well. So, Rinpack, I know we're going to go game by game here, but I think it's kind of essential that we at least kick off your thoughts on how this affects the slate now that Lillard, who was a 30% owned projected owned player prior to this, Jeremy Grant getting ownership in a game with a 241 total on the late night wave of games, those guys not playing tonight, and we just got that news.
Yeah, that's really significant news on this slate because heading into pretty much 30 minutes ago, there wasn't any true value that was opening up. And this Portland situation is still very, very sticky. I mean, I expect the game to play. There's still a non-zero chance the game for some reason doesn't play, but we'll keep an eye on that situation. But I mean, keep an eye on like the value there. I mean, the names that come to your mind are right away are Shaedon Sharpe, Cam Reddish are the two guys who I think will eat up a lot of usage. And it might, as gross as it might sound, Ryan Arcidiacono might get some backup point guard run there as well. So it's a lot of value that's opening up, a lot of usage, especially Dame was just running the show there leading up to the All-Star break. And as ridiculous as it sounds, apparently he was like rapping for 4 or 5 hours last night, just sitting in the plane. And I do think that might be the reason why he's taking a little rest today.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. It was like on Instagram Live. Jordan can confirm this.
So I'm saying you think that's why he might be sitting this one out?
Yeah, he might be a little tired. He might have had a little one too many Hennies on the plane, just waiting it out.
Okay. All right.
I think so.
Well, we'll get to all of that. If you guys haven't done so, hit that thumbs up. So we're already over 100. And shout out to Ship My Money, a little under the weather. He's been sick decent amount lately. So we hope that this is the last time or the winner. He went down to Savannah, Georgia, got sick. I mean, you can't win with that. But
he loves Savannah.
He does. I know.
He's gone there twice in like 3 months.
Yeah, took a lady down there this time, huh? Oh yeah.
All right. Good for little Adam over there.
Yeah, had someone on his arm, and then he got sick. Hey, we got you, man, and we got 9 games. So hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Helps us a lot. Atone for your sins in the event that you haven't done so yet, and clean yourselves of that stench. You just got bowed down to the YouTube overlords. You guys know how this goes. All right, let's kick it off, man. And do we have an update? Let me just see. We have an updated ownership run. we should any minute now, given this Portland news, because that changes everything.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we were heading into the show. We were looking at sub 4K value guys like Aaron Nesmith and like Isaac Okoro, really, really thin value plays that might be way too popular for my liking. But now we have like sure value building blocks, guys like Shaedon Sharpe and Cam Reddish, that I think a lot of lineups are going to start with. I mean, look, Dame Lillard takes up so much usage on that team, and also Jeremy Grant is also out, and those guys are just 1A and 1B in usage. 1A and then 3 in Jeremy Grant. Damian Lillard takes up so much usage, and they're still without Anthony Simons. So it's going to be like preseason rotation, preseason roster type of run here. I mean, there's going to be a lot of unknowns with this Portland rotation, but that's the only value that's really prevalent on this slate to jam in some of these studs. There's a lot of studs with 18 teams in play. So that ownership's going to change dramatically.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We should have that as soon as it updates. I'll let you guys know, but I do still think there are some teams, like if we kick it off with Denver and Cleveland here, right? I do still think there are some spots that aren't necessarily going to change all that much. I mean, you have Jared Allen on the Cleveland side. We can talk a little bit about, Garland and Mitchell as lower on plays, but on the Denver side, you do have Nikola Jokic, but there are a lot. And yes, Damian Lillard's absence probably makes a difference with some of these high-owned players, but I'm not sure how much more popular Jokic is in this pretty ugly matchup against Cleveland. Not to mention, we still don't know if Jamal Murray's playing tonight either.
Yeah, that's something to keep an eye on for sure. And when Nikola Jokic is low owned, that's the best type of Nikola Jokic. He can go out and put up 70, 80 in any matchup. I know it's a very slow paced matchup against Cleveland, but with some value opening up, you can now get to Jokic. I do think that ownership might go up a little bit by the time lock comes around, just because of his upside. There's no Aaron Gordon. And if there's no Jamal Murray, I mean, Jokic is going to look even better heading into that slate. But keep an eye on that situation in Denver. Jokic, probably my favorite Denver player to go to, just because of his sheer upside. And then if you want to sprinkle in Michael Porter at 6K, where you get the 3-point bonus on DraftKings, not getting any ownership right now, sure, kind of move up your shoulders and move on. There's not really much going on. Keep an eye on the Jamal Murray situation. It's just Jokic and move on. If Murray's out, maybe some extra merit to throw in some Bruce Brown, maybe at 5K. I think he will look a little better at 5,500. Even maybe you want to sprinkle in some Reggie Jackson, but it's really gross. No Zeke Naji. So they have some guys potentially missing, but they still don't look that great. It's just Jokic just has that super ceiling upside regardless of matchup. I'll be surely getting to Jokic above the field at this projected ownership for sure, but I think he'll come in a little bit higher owned with this new Portland value that's opened up.
Yeah, I agree. The matchup stinks, but it is, like you said, still Jokic. We'll see what happens with Murray. What about on the other side of this one with Cleveland? Now, I will point out, 223 total. It is the lowest on the slate. So it's not shocking that neither of these teams are getting a massive amount of ownership right now.
Yeah, it's a really low total. I mean, the late night hammers on this slate, if you just look at the sidebar, the totals just go up, and it's just something to keep an eye on here. But the Cleveland side of things, we know Donovan Mitchell has that upside within him. He's expensive, though, 9.5, 9.1. $37 on Yahoo is probably the best place to take your chances on Donovan Mitchell, in my opinion. I would rather play Garland over Mitchell just for the sure savings at $1,100 cheaper on DK. But everyone else, I think you want to sprinkle in Jared Allen, sure, but it's not the greatest option. He's getting some ownership right now, $6,600 on DraftKings, priced up at $7,800 on FanDuel. Really kind of take your chances on him on DraftKings. He's getting around 17% ownership as we have it right now, but he's kind of the best option over there on DraftKings. Isaac Okoro is going to play minutes. He's going to play high 20s minutes, but he's not someone I have that much interest in going to anymore with Portland value opening up. So kind of just Jared Allen on DraftKings. And then over there on FanDuel, Garland looks pretty solid at 8K. That's kind of really about it for this Cleveland situation. Sure, Mitchell has that tournament winning upside, but I think that salary is better spent elsewhere.
Someone asked if you live in Dubai. They're admiring your apartment.
I wish I lived in Dubai. I've never been to Dubai. I wonder, I've heard there's not much to do there. It's like a weekend trip and you can knock out most of that city.
Really?
Apparently. I don't know. I've never been.
Do you play tennis?
I do not play tennis.
Me neither, but I want to play tennis on the top of that skyscraper.
That seems the place to play tennis for sure. Yeah,
I'm loving your look today, dude. You know what it reminds me of? You know, in those movies where like someone wants to hide their identity, where they're like walking through a train station and they put the glasses on and then they put the hat on, but the hat never has a logo on it. And then they have the jacket on, right? And then they just walk with their heads down. That's it, right? That right there today.
This look might be here to stay. We'll see.
I love it. Yeah, I'm all about it. All right, let's keep going then, because we got a lot of good games to get into. Detroit and Orlando. So we'll talk about the Pistons here. This is what I want to know from you. What does this Portland news do to guys like Killian Hayes, right? And the James Wiseman? Just talking about some of these value plays, because when Josh and I did the strategy show this morning, there were some. Of course, Taylor Horton Tucker is still going to be popular. There's still going to be a few guys that are popular, despite value that opens up in Portland, which is going to be significant. But do you think this kind of suppresses some of the big ownership we saw coming in on Detroit?
Oh, for sure. I think so. Detroit is taking on an Orlando spot. You can certainly still play some of the Detroit guys, especially if you want to pivot off of Killian Hayes right now. I think I would personally. Killian Hayes needs a lot of peripheral stats for him to really pay off. I know it's $4,700. He can certainly do that. You can certainly still play Killian Hayes and the Portland value. I think I might be coming in well under that projected ownership right now. If I want to play some Detroit guys, I'm looking at Ivy. I'm looking at Bogdanovich. The really interesting situation here is the Duran Wiseman split and what that split's going to look like going into this, not only tonight, but the rest of the season. And I'm not so sure. It can go. My guess is I'm hoping Dwayne Casey plays more Duran than Wiseman, but last time out, I think it seemed like a split. I believe Jalen Duran hurt his ankle a little bit the last time out when they played, but it's an interesting situation, especially in that front court. 5,200 for Duran, 3,500 for Wiseman. Look, when Wiseman's given the minutes, he's in a Detroit spot where he can potentially get a lot more usage than he did in Golden State for sure. I might sprinkle in some Wiseman as well if he finds a way to, maybe the split's more 28-20, maybe it even gets up to 24-24, and that's when Wiseman becomes more appealing. But now this whole Detroit team looks a lot less appealing with the great value that's opened up in Portland. Killian Hayes looks good, not as great as he did about 15 minutes ago. Just NBA DFS for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking at Wiseman too. You look at that last game against Boston, right, where he played 24 minutes. You were talking about this. It is kind of tough to figure out. Duran played around 20. They basically split, like you said, but it's tough to say because, you know, they were down by 21. Bunch of the bench got emptied. Wiseman played the remaining 4.5 minutes of that game. Like, would he have come back out, or would Duran have closed that game and played those 4 or 5 minutes, you know, because that is significant. If you're looking at a 24-24 split or something in that area, it makes it a lot more difficult to try and figure out, given that we saw that blowout towards the end.
Yeah. And the only reason why I bring up Wiseman, he's 3,500, and the opportunity cost is he's going to take up a center spot or a utility spot where there's some solid spend up centers and mid-tier centers on the slate. So it's a high risk, high reward on a 9-game slate. So that's really about it. Alec Burks seems kind of been like dusted away by Dwayne Casey at this moment, but he always has that microwave ceiling. He can certainly get hot off the bench. There are multiple ways where you can pay off a $3,700 price tag. The Detroit team just looks more appealing on DraftKings than they do on FanDuel. But they look a lot less appealing than they did like 15, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give us more than enough time to get to this Portland-Sacramento game. So don't you guys worry about that. Plus, you got live before live. Look, we're right after the All-Star break. We're going to make it worth your while. But yeah, live before lock, Greg, Eric, right after this, they're going to take you all the way up to lock and through it till 7:30. No house advantage post-lock show. Stick around for that as well. What do you want to do with the Magic today? With Wendell Carter Jr. being at a pretty reasonable price, probably get around 30 minutes from him. Fultz has been playing pretty well. All of these guys outside of Banchero are all essentially the identical price point today for pretty good reason.
Yeah, it's an Orlando team that's fully healthy, right? It's like they've been healthy for a while, but as they've gotten healthy, the price is corrected for this team, and they've kind of dropped like about 10% of their pricing when guys were missing. And now they're kind of appealing in a Detroit spot where I can certainly see 1 or 2 guys being really good and potentially must-have players, maybe. Banchero certainly has that upside within him. Wendell Carter at 5,800, another one of those solid mid-tier centers if you want to take some chances on. He's kind of a Jared Allen pivot, in my opinion, at $5,800 on DraftKings. Comes in at 6,400 on FanDuel, where you get power forward and center. I think he's an option you can certainly go to. Banchero looks pretty solid at 7,200, in my opinion. But the rest of the team, it's kind of pick your poison type of situation because you can rotate the cast of characters on this team and taking some chances on Franz Wagner, a Markelle Fultz, maybe a Cole Anthony off the bench. That's kind of where I draw the line. I don't see Jalen Suggs getting enough minutes paying that off, but it's a Detroit spot where he can be really efficient and find a way to pay off that price tag at 4,200. Seems a little too cute for this slate, but I'm just looking at guys like Banchero, Wendell Carter Jr., and Fultz and kind of maybe moving on right now. It's a great Detroit spot.
Play from this game?
For this game, I think it's Banchero. I like taking some chances with Banchero here. He has that upside. He's coming in low on DraftKings. I really like him on FanDuel. So FanDuel for Banchero now, it's probably going to be Carter Jr. on DraftKings, but it's an appealing spot against Detroit. Anytime a team's playing against Detroit, there always seemingly finds a way with one or two guys to be really good. And it's kind of why I would take some chances. I know there's not much injury news that we're waiting on. Maybe we're going to wait on that Portland starting lineup, but it's the first game back. The teams have had 9-10 days off. They should have fresh legs and no all-star break hangover. So I like taking some chances on this Magic team. Kind of like, I do think one or two of these guys can be really good. Banchero looks outstanding at $26 on Yahoo.
And to your point on, having fresh legs, these teams are also getting healthier over the break too. I mean, you look at a Boston team that we were playing loads of for like a week, right? Whether it was Smart was out and then Jaylen Brown was out and then Horford missed a handful of games and then Jason Tatum missed a game. Like it was just in rapid succession. One of these guys was down, then another. But now you look at Boston, you want to talk about healthy teams. We talk Boston and Indiana here. When it comes to the Celtics, how do you confidently play any of these guys? Not that they're not great. This team, Josh and I talked about it this morning. They have the best odds to win the finals, and rightfully so. But half of them are priced as if Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart should still be out. And now you've got a fully healthy team that has a good bench. They have plenty of depth coming back. Like, I don't know. It's no surprise to me that this team is maybe the lowest combined ownership of any team on the entire slate.
Yeah, and therefore this team makes for an appealing tournament option across the board. The only thing is, the uncertainty is we don't know what the minutes look like. And when there's some uncertainty like that, I think in tournaments, you got to be willing to take some chances against this Pacers team. Keep an eye on the Robert Williams situation that happened. I was looking back and seeing rotations. There's a game I believe he didn't start, and I think he came off the bench. It was, I believe, the last game Boston played before the All-Star break. And I think I'll like Robert Williams quite a bit if he starts at 6,200 on both sites, especially on FanDuel where you get that blocks bonus. He can certainly rack those up in this matchup. In terms of upside, we know Tatum and Brown can certainly have it, but they're priced up. I like 10-7 Tatum on FanDuel. It's going to be very low owned. Certainly has that upside coming off that All-Star game MVP. Doesn't mean much, but it's Jason Tatum, who certainly can put up 60 fantasy points on this against this Pacers spot. But everyone else, the backcourt's going to be pretty jammed up. We don't know what the minutes are going to look like for guys like White and Brogdon. I think Marcus Smart's minutes are pretty safe. He's fine. Nothing that intrigues me. He's kind of like priced appropriately. But like you said, this team, with all these guys are healthy, the minutes are going to be really spread apart outside of guys for Tatum, Brown, and Smart, in my opinion. And it's going to make for a really intriguing tournament team to target because they're going to be very low owned. And they all certainly carry some decent amount of tournament winning upside at their respective salaries.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I don't even know how much the minutes matter for some of these guys because their prices just don't reflect. Man, you'd need a lot from White with a fully healthy team at that price point. Yeah.
Derek White's kind of pretty much out of play. And the guy who, if I were to say that my favorite play on this team across the board, it's probably Rob Williams. Okay. And I hope he starts 6,200 on both sites on DraftKings and FanDuel. A very nice price tag at $19 over there on Yahoo. So keep an eye on this Boston Celtics starting lineup. And my assumption is Robert Williams should start.
Yeah. What about the Pacers, though? I mean, Like just this whole game in general is going to be, if you're playing in large field tournaments, maybe you look to get different here, but it's already a tough matchup. Largely fully healthy team for the Indiana Pacers. Like Aaron Nesmith looks somewhat interesting. He didn't look bad in our boom bust tool, but for the most part, through and through, there's not a lot to get to for the Pacers either.
Yeah, if you're just in terms of just targeting upside here, it's going to be Halliburton, $8,600 on FanDuel specifically, and then 9,600 on DraftKings. I do think the ownership might go up a little bit because we're going to lose that Dame Lillard ownership that was coming in pretty hot. So his ownership might go up a tad bit. And Miles Turner comes in at 7,200, 7,900. It's just tough to go to at that price tag. I think there are better centers that are cheaper than him, and then might as well spend up a little bit more. Yeah, no, a Pacers team that's really tough to go to. I know Aaron Nesmith grades out pretty well. I do think that's going to change up a little bit with the Portland news that just came out. So
For sure.
if you want to take some chances on him, sure. Not something that I'm too excited about. It's going to be Halliburton and Heald, where you Heald 6,200 on both sides. Like him on DraftKings, where you get that 3-point bonus, but they're just priced appropriately. And then Halliburton's only the real guy on FanDuel specifically that I have my eyes on.
We just got an ownership update a few minutes ago. Man, okay. So actually we need another one because it's still got Lillard in there.
Yeah, he's carrying quite a bit of ownership. So
yeah, I'm assuming we're just still waiting for the next one. That would be what I assume to be the case. All right, but let's keep going then. New Orleans and Toronto. It is interesting though, right? Because we talked about it this morning. You can catch a strategy show 10 a.m. every day. Josh's process show 6:30 a.m. Monday through Friday for those of you early risers, or maybe you're working a late shift. Maybe you're coming home or you're on the West Coast. It's like 3:30 there and you're working, you need something to do. What better to do than check out the process? So we got everything for you, but we mentioned this morning, there are a lot of teams and games for that matter, Impact, where there's just not a lot to get to. Maybe one player, maybe not much at all. And then with the Portland news, it's even more pronounced with some of these teams. Like some of these teams, if you're getting to them, it's going to have to be, you're going to either have to be making manual adjustments, or you're just going to be getting to them large field tournaments with very low ownership, right? Low exposure.
Yeah. And it's just like when there's such scarce value on the slate, it makes for really difficult decisions. And sometimes you just don't need to get too cute. Just play the safe values and then take some chances on some low owned studs. Like there are a lot of good players, studs that are coming in low owned just because of how many teams are on the slate tonight. Like we're talking about Jokic, who's projected to be sub 10% owned. Jason Tatum, all of these guys have super ceiling upsides to take something down. You play the value and you mix and match these super studs, and hopefully you can find that lineup to get to the top.
Let's move to the Pels here. I don't know. Maybe your opinion will be the same as it is with some of these other games, but Jonas Valanciunas, from a tournament standpoint, I think there's always the ceiling game potential there. It sucks because the minutes are erratic, like 31 minutes last game, 25, 24, 26, 24. You can't bank on that big playing time. But he is a fantastic fantasy point per minute producer. I think he's like 1.25 per minute. He does everything well. It's just, can you get the playing time from him? Is there anything in Toronto that jumps off the page at you?
Yeah, I do like taking some chances on Valanciunas. It's not going to take much to get above the field on a guy like him. He comes in kind of like in between the high-owned, potentially high-owned centers and Carter Jr. and Jared Allen. He makes for an excellent pivot in between. You can argue Valanciunas has the highest upside among that bunch if given the right minutes, and he certainly can play those minutes. His minutes can be volatile. I know they haven't been as high as much as we would like targeting him in DFS, but I think that price point is low enough where even if you were to play 24 minutes, he can find a way to be really efficient and put up mid-30s fantasy points. Valanciunas certainly has that in his bag, so I like taking some chances on getting above the field, and Joe Val for sure. And then Brandon Ingram, he's kind of just a different player when there's no Zion eating up his usage. $7,800 on FanDuel. I really like that price tag. Just take some chances. I know it's a kind of a decently tough matchup on the other side, but Ingram should be able to take all the usage he wants. And then I prefer going to Ingram than McCollum. I know McCollum's $7,600 on FanDuel. If you want to sprinkle some of them in Sure, he certainly has upside within him. I do think Ingram has a greater upside in this spot than McCollum. So it's Valanciunas and Ingram for me, and then everyone else. It's just I don't need to really go there tonight. It seems unnecessary when it sounds like a broken record. When Portland's opened up with especially Dave and Jeremy Grant are both missing there. So it's Joe Bell and Ingram, maybe some McCollum, and kind of move on.
Well, that record might stay broken with Toronto because there's not like it's just I think we have to factor pricing in here, and you're looking at a team that, of course, Nick Nurse is just going to play these guys massive minutes. I will say, massive discrepancy in salary on Van Vliet from FanDuel to DraftKings. There's no doubt about that. FanDuel, he's 8,200, pulling a lot of ownership right now, rightfully so. 9,700 on DraftKings though. Pascal Siakam is 10,200. Scotty Barnes is 8,500. I don't think there's any arguing that from site to site these guys look a whole lot different.
Yeah, and definitely play Van Vliet on FanDuel at 8,200. I definitely like to take some chances there. 9,700 is a completely different picture on DraftKings. Stuff to go there. Jakob Poeltl's back in the picture in Toronto. He's 5,900. We'll see what those minutes look like and what Nick Nurse is going to do with those minutes for him. For so long, we've been used to playing Siakam at the 5 over there and like closing games out. We'll see what Poeltl's rotation looks like as the season develops. I do think the San Antonio coaching staff was limiting his minutes as they were trying to trade him. And maybe I think Poeltl could certainly play more consistently in the low 30s going forward. There has to be a reason why the Toronto front office went and tried to get him back. I mean, they had traded him in that Kawhi Leonard trade, but it's something to keep an eye on. I do think those minutes should potentially could go up, and I think at 5,900, he can certainly pay off that price tag. 7,500 on FanDuel, completely different story there. Not much interest over there. And OG Anunoby, I think, is expected to return potentially tonight. He comes in at 6,200, one of those low-owned, super low-owned tournament options. Coming back from a wrist injury, so I'm not too worried about a lower body or minutes limit. They had a bunch of days off. And we also know Siakam, he can still find a way to pay off a 10-2 and 9-3 price tag, regardless of matchup. I know the rebound rate will drop a little bit with Poeltl in the picture, but it's Siakam. He's going to lead the team in usage and find a way to get things done. So it's going to be another low-owned team where I think you want to take some chances on Siakam and OG Anunoby and Jakob Poeltl are the three guys who I'm looking at for this team to get above the field on. And then everyone else seems priced a little too expensive and kind of out of the picture for me.
Man, I'm so curious to see what Poeltl's minutes are going to settle in at, right? Because we know that Nurse is the type of guy that if he likes somebody, he's going to give – he has no problem giving his starters, 37 to 42 minutes each every single night. That hasn't been the case at the center position oftentimes. But I wonder, like, do we see Jakob Poeltl pull, because what did he play last game? What was it, like 37 or something? Yeah. 37 minutes last game. I mean, that's clearly unrealistic, but what's a realistic minutes projection for Poeltl today?
Yeah, I definitely think it's fair to have him around at least 30.
Me too.
And a Valanciunas matchup where at least whatever minutes Valanciunas is on the floor, I expect Poeltl to be out there. I mean, like at least maybe Nick Nurse matches up that matchup pretty well. And I think Poeltl can certainly stay on the court and be able to hold his own if Pelicans were to go technically small with Larry Nance. It's not going that small, but I think Poeltl's minutes, we should see these minutes go up more consistently. And I do think there will be that recency bias or fear of just Poeltl not playing those minutes for like an extended period of time. There was a good 6-7 week period where Poeltl was just playing mid-20s minutes and he was splitting those minutes with Zach Collins over there in San Antonio. I think it's a different picture, different scenario here. And like you said, Nick Nurse likes you. He's going to play you a lot of minutes. And I think you want to be targeting those type of upsides, especially on a slate like this. And if Poeltl's going to play 30-plus minutes, he has 40 fantasy point upside, and he'll happily take that on the slate like this tonight.
Yeah. And I have no idea how much like the Thad Young injury in that game influenced just the overall playing time for the front court, but we're about to find out for sure. All right. Let me see if we got any news coming in here. Nope. All right. We're good. Let's talk about Memphis and Philadelphia. Here's a fun game for you. I also want to. Oh, that's cool. Did he over? He's serial 30 of the LeBron record moment on Top Shot. Nice. What's that, like $7 right now? No, I'm kidding. That's, dude, I tell you what, I mean, if Top Shot comes back, and these are all ebbs and flows, like if it comes back, I don't think it comes back the way it did a couple of years ago, but everything always does come back, especially if it's linked to crypto. Who knows? Maybe that ends up being, I mean, number 30 on that is awesome. Shout out to our boy Alex Baker. Also, shout out to all these super chats. We had one earlier today from MJ Hiding. I missed it. I DM'd him. I said, listen, I got you, man. I felt bad because it was a $20 super chat. He hit us up today saying that thanks to the fellas for helping me ship 62K in the last slate before the All-Star break. Let's get this 150K tonight. Yeah, $62,000 winner going into our Hall of Fame there, Rimpact. That's a beautiful one. And Julio G. Sup, Brian Laffy. Are the player ceilings on I'll toss this to you, Rimpact. Are the player ceilings on Fantasy Cruncher a game environment ceiling or a season running average? Ryan, do you use ceilings to choose your players?
I don't want to give a wrong answer. I don't know what the ceilings on FC are based on. I think it's a fair question to email either one of the supports, either FC support or our support, to get that clarified. I do not use that ceilings functionality on FC. So I don't use ceilings to choose my players. I do think a lot of it, if you want to use ceilings, I do think another alternative would be to use the boom bust tool. I think that's another solid alternative to, instead of looking at ceilings.
All right. Wait, Jordan, did you set a prompt up in chat? Spiteful Jordan.
He's a little cyberbully.
Yeah, spiteful. Ryan Nelson, NBA on Yahoo is a good edge. Not enough late swapping going on, and variance is lower with smaller contests. THT at $16 is my favorite play on Yahoo. Yeah, you still play on Yahoo, right?
Yeah, I still play on Yahoo. It's kind of like the first site that I start building on and kind of set my feet wet. And yeah, I think THT, we'll touch on him when we touch on the Jazz. I do think he certainly has that upside to pay that salary off. But I do think I might disagree with you there, Ryan Nelson. I do think one of the Portland guys might end up being my favorite plays.
Yeah, we'll get there. But no, THT6, like, he's still going to be a good play with Sexton out today. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Before we do though, no house advantage. I already threw my card up there. They got the free square today. Meaning that Ja Morant needs to score 1 point. So if you're going over there, use the link in the description and in chat, by the way, you get a $100 first match deposit bonus, meaning if you deposit 100, your account shows 200. If you deposit 50, your account's going to show $100. Beautiful. Sign up, use the link, get your deposit bonus, and go over to Verse the House, right? First pick you should make. First pick for the Super Bowl, they had the Mahomes free square, over a half a passing yard. This one, over half a point. Assuming he doesn't get hurt early in this game, free square to Ja Morant. You need him to score 1 point. Why does that matter? I'll tell you. Because now, if you're doing like a 5 play, right, where you're 21xing your entry, you already have one of them locked in. If you're doing a 4 play, right, and you're trying to 11x, you're getting one of them already locked in. Shit, even if you're only doing 2 or 3 of them, you're still setting yourself up beautifully here to double your money, to 5x your money with one of these props already locked in. Other sports books aren't giving you free plays like this to throw into a parlay at all. All I'm saying is you should check it out. Versus the House. Of course, they have the other format too, where you're playing against the field. The overlay on that's been silly, like just insane. And those props are static. They don't change throughout the day. All of our tools at Stokastic, both for Versus the House and for the Pick'em, are entirely free for No House Advantage. Entirely free tools, so you can use them and really, really exploit them where other people aren't. But check it out. free square on Ja Morant today. Link is down there. Not only that, though, you got to pick them, all the free tools, everything you're looking to get, and you don't have to pay for tools to get an edge over there at No House Advantage. So, yeah. Or we could sweat this one together. Check out the card that I posted. Tail that, and we'll celebrate if it wins. We'll cry together if it loses. We'll run it back tomorrow over on my Twitter at Laffy_D. While you're there, by the way, follow Rinpack at Rinpack. All right.
This is the first thing you should be doing today. Like before, like entering the other you got to start your night off with this, and it's the first step on being potentially profitable tonight is taking advantage of this free square with No House Advantage. So yeah, definitely take advantage of that.
We just got, and again, link down there in the description. Jordan threw it in the chat. We just got the correct ownership update. We have a 78% projected owned player from Portland. So
that'll happen. That'll happen on a slate like this.
There you have it. Memphis and Philadelphia. And again, Rinpack, I want to give ourselves ample time. So if there are spots that you're not particularly enthusiastic about, don't hesitate to just kind of say that you aren't. What do you want to do with the Grizzlies today?
I think it's a great, like real life NBA game. It's to watch. I think it's going to be really exciting just to for these two teams to go head to head. But in terms of DFS, Memphis is priced all appropriately across the board. Just make for solid tournament options. We know Ja Morant has that upside, but he at 10.8, that's a little too expensive for my liking. At 10K, seems too expensive on FanDuel as well. Jaren Jackson Jr. continues to block everything. 7,800, 8,400. Price too high for my liking. If there's a player who I want to play on Memphis, it's going to be Desmond Bane at 8-1 and 7,900. I do think he's coming in super low, and I do like his potential upside there. Now, it's a tricky situation here for the two other potential starters. I don't know if Brandon Clarke is going to start. His minutes have kind of been all over the place. Keep an eye on that starting lineup and what Taylor Jenkins does there. Is it going to be Tillman who gets to start to go up against Embiid, or is it going to be Brandon Clarke? And if Clarke starts, I really like him at 4,500. Power forward, center eligible on both sides. 5,300 FanDuel. Not as appealing at 4,500 on DraftKings, but I really like getting able to feel on a guy like Brandon Clarke if he starts. And Dillon Brooks, he's priced all the way down to 4,200. I'm not the biggest fan of Dillon Brooks whatsoever, but he could certainly find a way to shoot the ball 15, 16 times in a outlier shooting usage performance type of situation here. And at 4,200, he's not going to need much to pay that off. And you can certainly get above the field on a guy like Dillon Brooks if he just wants to kind of be a ball hog offensive shooter type of situation here. $14 on Yahoo. So sneaky tournament guys here. Keep a close eye on that Clark Tillman situation for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what this looks like today. And you're right. There's some tournament play here, but it's more so just a really good actual game. Ryan Houston said, Laffy's looking pale. Yeah, man. You know what that is? It's February here in the Northeast, and I'm strung out on fentanyl. No, it's February, and Manscaped just sent me all of us like a bunch of the stuff. Josh and I were talking about it this morning, and I was like, yo, I got to try the clippers out and the trimmer. And apparently like a 2 for the Manscaped trimmer where you just turn a dial, there's no guards, is different than the 2 on the guard that I was using before. So I hit it and I go, oh no. Now, worked amazingly, almost too well. I just got to turn the dial up a little bit because I took that way too short. And when it gets winter around here, I get real pale, man. I'm Irish. This is what happens. So I agree. Very pale here. Very pale. Took it down to like a half. Usually have it at a 2. No good. But great product. It's just now I've learned. We got a super chat too from my Phil Eric. Who's your favorite from these guys? Morant or Fox or Van Vliet or Poole? I guess that's just one. Morant, Fox, Van Vliet, or Poole.
It's a tough question to answer just because the prices are all kind of very different. Like if you were just asking me who has the highest raw projection, I'm going to go with Morant. But in terms of like, if I'm going to play one lineup and who falls in there type of situation, he said Morant, Fox, or Poole, right?
Yeah,
I think I might have to go with the low-owned Morant. It's not the it's not a clear-cut answer. I think they're all solid tournament upside plays. It really depends on who else you're playing in that lineup as well. But I think I'm going to go with Morant just because I think he would be projected the highest.
All right. Talk to me about Philly here then. On the other side, we mentioned Jokic earlier. One of the reasons Jokic isn't that popular right now, Joel Embiid, very popular today, 31%. I actually am curious to see what happened with Jokic's ownership after okay, so he went from like 7% to 12%, so he almost doubled. But Embiid went up to 30, Rimpak.
That's really interesting. I think that makes there's a lot of merit to playing Embiid. I wonder if there's enough value with the Portland side of things to get in Embiid and Jokic. I'll have to take a look. There certainly is a lot of value on the Portland side where you can play them both. But I like getting above the field on Jokic. Certainly like playing Embiid for sure. And Embiid's gotten a lot of rest, right? I believe I was reading some quotes while I was away that he's been battling some real injuries. He's been struggling to stay like healthy, and that's a situation that happens with Embiid every February. Something always pops up with him, and hopefully these 9 days have have helped him. Where I want to take a chance on fresh Embiid. He comes in at 11-1, and I like always getting above the field on a guy like James Harden, sub 10K. He always has sneaky triple double upside. Less so with Tyrese Maxey back in the picture, but I like going to James Harden sub 10K on both sides, 9,800 on FanDuel. Certainly like taking some chances there. With Embiid's ownership going up, I do think my ownership for him I was potentially willing to get above the field at 20%. I do think I'll probably have to get in around the field with Embiid at that 30% projected ownership. We'll see what breaks down once I start building lineups here. It's Embiid and Harden for me. Man, Tobias Harris is sub $5,000. Wow. I think
we said that this morning too.
Wow. I think it's just weird. Like it's that whole like $9.99 concept instead of seeing $10. Like I think you can certainly play Tobias Harris, but he'll be popular at that price tag, and I think you can certainly play him there. I don't know if I'll get.
What about Maxey coming off playing potentially 30 plus minutes today, getting a decent amount of burn without both Harden and Embiid on the floor together? He's 5,300, 7% right now.
Yeah, I mean, it feels a long time ago. Maxey was what, a mid 7K player before he got hurt, and then Doc is just all fucking around with his rotation for I don't know why, but Maxey certainly tournament upside, can get hot from the outside. Those are the type of players. I know he's getting some ownership, but you can get above the field on Maxey, no issues whatsoever. I like going to Maxey because he could be the guy who shoots the ball 16, 17 times this game sneakily, and you'll take that at 5,300.
Anybody else for Philly? You want to talk San Antonio and Dallas?
No one else for Philly. Those four guys make for really appealing tournament options just because they're price tag on DraftKings. A little different story over there on FanDuel, but Embiid and Harden, we know they certainly have huge tournament upsides. And Harden's sub $40 on Yahoo, so certainly take some chances over there.
What about the Spurs today? 14-point dogs, 238.5 point total. Still waiting on the Jeremy Sohan news. Trey Jones is doubtful. Devin Vassell remains out. This team is just bad from top to bottom. And now you're getting some ownership going to Zach Collins. A lot of those mid to high 5K guys or 5K guys at the center position are getting a little bit of love today. Keldon Johnson at that mid-range price point. How do we approach the Spurs today against a Dallas team whose defense hasn't exactly lived up to the expectations that we've seen in the past, but they play really slow as well?
Yeah, and it's a gross Spurs team to look at. Just look at the names that we're going to potentially considering rostering. But when there's guys missing, there's usage available. And I think Keldon Johnson's going to get a lot of it. So I like getting above the field on a guy like Keldon Johnson. I mean, I expect him to shoot around at least 20 times a game with this type of roster surrounding him. Zach Collins with a center-only spot seems tough to go to. Priced up at 6,700, kind of like moving away. That's a little too expensive for Zach Collins, where I want to take some chances on potentially a Devontae Graham, 4,400. I think guy he has that 3-point bonus on DraftKings. I like taking some chances with him over there. But really pay attention with the Jeremy Sohan news over here. Malachi Branham was getting a lot of ownership. I want to see the fresh ownership, that newest update, but I think that ownership might have fallen for Branham, and I don't think I'm as interested in Branham. I wasn't that interested in him heading into the slate with that ownership. I think I'll be
We have him
under
9% right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll be under the field on a guy like him. And Keita Bates Diop has always shown the ability to pick up peripheral stats. That's like another easy way of him paying up a $4,300 price tag. He'll look even better if Jeremy Sohan is out. So keep an eye on that situation. If Sohan is out, that's really about, if he's out, I think, yeah, Keita Bates Diop would be the guy who I'd look to. At some point, Blake Wesley should get more run. Blake Wesley, I believe, went to Notre Dame, and he is 3K. And he was a play that I was potentially take some chances on without that Portland news. And Blake Wesley, at some point later in the season, he will play minutes, 20 plus minutes more consistently, night in, night out. I'm not sure if it happens tonight, but that's just a name to keep an eye on heading down the season here.
All right. Now on Dallas, it's pretty straightforward here, right? Like Luka is going to be way easier to get to now with no Lillard, no Jeremy Grant. Outside of Luka though, and Luka is pricey, but it makes it a whole lot more accessible with this Portland news, who we'll get to shortly. And by the way, we got 13 minutes, so let's rip through these so we can get to Portland. With Luka, outside of Luka, who do you really go to for Dallas?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, potentially, obviously, 14-point spread. You expect some sort of blowout potential. Can Luka pay off an 11-9 price tag in 3/4 of play? He certainly has that within him. 12K. I'm not as excited to go to Luka tonight. I know Kyrie Irving's back in the picture, and they are going to be eating up the usage for sure. And I want to see more of a sample size of those two guys playing on the court together, of what that usage split's actually going to be. I believe they've only played around an hour, 60 minutes or so together on the court. And it's just not enough for me to make any strong conclusions.
Yeah, it's 57 minutes, I think, or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I want to see some more potential. I mean, yeah, it's Luka Doncic. If this can San Antonio potentially put this game close, and they certainly can, but I think I'll be coming in under the field on Luka, and it's scary to think that way because Luka is just insane. He can put up 80 fantasy points in the spot, but I gotta take some chances and pay up for potential centers. I think might be the way to go here. So, and everyone else on Dallas, it's tough to go to. I think if you want to sprinkle in some Josh Green on Yahoo, sure, but there's just better spots elsewhere. Really tough Dallas team to go to get above the field on whatsoever.
Let's talk OKC and Utah then. So you got the Thunder today, 1-point dogs. They were 1-point favorites earlier in the day. This one's kind of just swung back and forth a little bit. 239 total though against the Jazz. So you have a high total. The question is how many guys are going to see the floor? And outside of maybe a little Lou Dort or SGA, I think has seen a boost in ownership with this Portland news as well. We've got him at 14.4% right now on DraftKings, significantly higher than he was earlier in the day. 26% on FanDuel. So at 10,200. So another high priced, high volume guard that's getting a little bit of love today. Yeah.
And for me, it's honestly for this OKC team, I'm going to be willing to get above the field potentially on SGA just because of the upside and sandwiching them around that Portland value. But everyone else on this team is priced appropriately / too expensive. Lou Dort's getting some ownership. If you want to sprinkle in some of him, sure. Just doesn't get enough usage for my liking. And everyone else it's tough to go to. I think I'll be coming in a little bit under the field, especially on some of those guys on FanDuel. Even Josh Giddey comes in at 7,500. I think I'll be willing to look elsewhere as well. I just think all the other guys, it's so much uncertainty what Mark Dagnall is going to do with that rotation. It's just, I don't need to do that. I think I'll just play it safe and taking my chances with some other guys who have much higher ceilings and much more sound rotation minutes on when there's 18 games on the slate. I don't need to take risks with this OKC team.
Okay. Fair enough. Calvin, I told you we'll get to this Portland game. Don't worry, man. I'm telling you. Plus, it is, as much as you may want to argue it is going to be pretty straightforward. And yes, you will have live before lock coming after this with more insight than we have, given that we started the show right after that news broke. Let's talk about Utah, though. You've got the Jazz. I mean, this is just a good spot. THT's ownership has come down a little bit, but it's still if you're just looking at Utah without Sexton, makes a huge difference. Of course, Russell Westbrook never played for this team before they bought him out. They don't have Mike Conley anymore. So it's just opening a considerable amount up in this backcourt. You're talking THT, Clarkson, particularly on FanDuel. There's a lot of ownership going to Utah today in a good spot, and for really good reason.
Yeah. And another, I know Taylor Horton-Tucker is getting that ownership right now at 4,800. I think I will be probably under the field on that type of ownership. I do think he's a solid option. But my favorite Utah play is probably going to be Walker Kessler at 5,700. If he's going to be playing around 30 minutes and more than 30 minutes, maybe low 30s minutes consistently, I like going to Walker Kessler in this OKC spot. I think he comes in pretty favorably. By far, probably my favorite Utah player to roster here. Keep an eye on that starting lineup here on who will end up starting here for this Utah team. There's a non-zero chance they start that rookie. They got Ochai, I think, Abashi, I think in that Donovan. Yeah. And he's not the greatest fantasy point per minute guy, but there's a non-zero chance he might get that start. But we know the upside marketing can do. He's priced very expensive. This is like the ceiling price tag for him on 9,400 on DraftKings, 8,300 on FanDuel. I like going to him there. Clarkson, 6,400 on FanDuel. You can certainly play him. A Utah team against OKC, I think there's a lot of the usage will be concentrated, I feel like, in my opinion, between guys like Markin and Clarkson and THT. And a sneaky play might be Kelly Olynyk, but I'm not so sure. I think he's just going to come in pretty low on. He's getting some ownership on DraftKings at 5,300. Just a sneaky tournament option in Kelly O if you want to get above the field on a guy like him. You certainly can.
Yeah, Kelly Olynyk has always been the death of me, but it does make it makes perfect sense. Plus, really high total game as well.
Yeah, that's like the game environment. That, like, now thinking more about it, the game environment, there could be like another OKC player who maybe I should be a bit more bullish on. So we'll be willing to take some chances on both teams, but SGA sticks out on OKC and a bunch of guys on Utah for sure.
Absolutely. All right, Golden State and the LA Lakers. We got 2 games to go. We'll turn this one over to the Live Before Lock crew. Shout out to Rimpack back on the deeper dive today, man. It's good stuff. Warriors. Jordan Poole's price point is exorbitant right now. You have no Wiggins, you have no Steph Curry, but I'm not sure how much that's really going to open up outside of, some Kevon Looney today. What are your thoughts here on the Warriors?
Yeah, the Warriors team priced really appropriately on DraftKings. If you want to take some tournament flyers on Poole and Clay, it seems a little like doesn't seem that appealing at that elevated price tag. Some night slate plays for sure. I think DiVincenzo could play 30-plus-ish minutes potentially with no Wiggins at 5,400. I think I like going to him. Kevon Looney's he's been really impressive pretty much from the playoffs and like his playoffs onwards in terms of his fantasy production, but I don't think I can go to him in confidence. They're going to need him for the Anthony Davis matchup on the other side of things. So if you want to sprinkle in some Kevon Looney, sure, but I think I'll be willing to look elsewhere. It's a center-only spot, willing to spend up a little bit more outside of Kevon Looney. DiVincenzo sticks out to me on both sides, 5,400 and 5,300. Poole and Klay Thompson are certainly in play on FanDuel. They certainly have that upside to pay that off. 8,300 for Jordan Poole. We just know how much usage he gets when there's no Curry on the court. And at $8,300 on FanDuel, he can certainly pay that off. These guys on Yahoo look really solid, especially Poole and Klay. $31 and $25 respectively. And that's really about it. I know I didn't mention Draymond. He's really only in play on Yahoo at $24. This team's really appealing on Yahoo, but not so much on DraftKings and FanDuel.
All right. Goody with a $20 super chat. Thanks, man. Sup, fellas. Long time no talk. Super annoyed Frank Jackson not on DraftKings to get us off THT Chuck. Big pivot to Abaji off THT to spend up elsewhere. What are your thoughts? DK, GPP, 20 max. So
I will say play Portland. I don't think you need to.
Yeah.
Abaji has not shown that upside a lick. It's really gross to go to him. But I don't think I would even do that in 20 max.
Yeah, I agree. You're talking about like just north of half a fantasy point per minute this year, which is really rough. Joel Embiid with an illness will play. So, all right, got an illness, but he'll play. All right, Rim Pack. We're going to make it. Lakers, quickest breakdown you can do for the Lakers here before we go to Portland and wrap this one up.
Yeah, it's I'm willing to take some chances on Jared Vanderbilt at 4,200 to get above the field on a guy like him. Prefer going to Anthony Davis than LeBron James. I think LeBron James is really struggling with that foot injury. I know he's got some time off, but he's really strange, skipping a lot of like the All-Star Day, like festivities over the weekend. Seems like something's up with that injury where he's getting additional treatment. So keep an eye on that situation. I do think Anthony Davis has a huge upside against this Golden State matchup. D'Angelo Russell, where you get that 3-point bonus on DraftKings. I like going to 6,500 D'Angelo Russell. I think he's going to find a way to fit in here. And Malik Beasley, I think they did say Beasley and Vanderbilt will continue to start. Beasley, where he's going to shoot threes off of LeBron assists, I think will fit in nicely, and he certainly has that upside at $4,100 to pay that off with that 3-point bonus. So some appealing tournament options for this Lakers team across the board. Prefer Davis to LeBron if I was going to pick one Laker.
Yeah, I forgot to ask all show because we're trying to be expedient here and do the best that we can for you guys. But we are 169 likes away from 500. 68 now. There are 2,700 people watching. Rimpack, you think for the sake of you would think for the sake of you being on this show, making a guest appearance, showing up in the shades in the beautiful apartment, that we could get 150 people to hit that thumbs up who haven't done so yet in the next 2 minutes. I
sure hope so. I came here to add some color, add some swag, and some hopefully some sound advice.
Yeah. You got to do better than that, man. You got to come in hot. You can't do that. You got to come in real hot. You got to talk shit or something, but you got to really lay it on them. That's how we get these thumbs up here. All right. Next time. We're going to get there. What's up?
I'll get there next time. I'll do it next time.
We'll get there. We're about
to. We gotta get to Portland. Yeah.
We will. We're good. We're good. We can go like a minute over. And we just hit 500. Appreciate you guys. You are the greatest. All right. Portland Trailblazers. Woo. All right. So yeah. I'm gonna toss this over to you because you have Keon Johnson, you have Nasir Little, you have Cam Reddish, you have Sharp, you have Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle, hopefully we can just avoid that. Drew Eubanks, but no Lillard, no Grant. Also, no Anthony Simons. That's what makes this such a unique team today to target. Best value across the board, hands down, not a second thought.
Yeah, you can roster up to 4 Blazers if you want to today, and definitely take your chances with this Blazers team across the board. Personally, I don't believe Shaedon Sharpe is a true point guard. And there's a non-zero chance Ryan Arcidiacono gets the start here. But I love going to Cam Reddish, Shaedon Sharpe. I'll be sprinkling in some Arcidiacono. He's going to come in virtually low-owned, no ownership, I think. And this being the last game of the night, I think, he might become a sneaky tournament option. Look, this team's going to play a ton of minutes. They're missing guys. Look, keep in mind, Nurkic is also still out. Jeremy Grant is out. So guys like Keon Johnson, Nasir Little are going to get usage sprinkled their way. I don't think I can go to Matisse Thybulle, but he might play 30+ minutes, and if he's going to burn me, so be it. But the
probably will play another 30+ minutes. It's just it might be 0.2 fantasy points per minute, but you'll probably get the playing time from him.
Yeah, that's the only reason why, if you want to take some chances with Matisse Thybulle, you're just hoping for that playing time, and if you can find a way to knock down some threes. But that's really about it. Any potential guys like there's next tier guys in Trendon Watford, Jabari Walker, and Kevin Knox. Less appealing in my opinion, but certainly when the team is so shorthanded, you might see Chauncey Billups just write the hot hand with one of those guys. I mentioned Eubanks. You can certainly play him. I like going to Eubanks instead of Kevon Looney. He can certainly find a way to get a lot of usage here. You can play 3-4 Blazers, and I have no issues. My preference of Blazers would be Cam Reddish would be 1, Nasir Little 2, Sharpe 3, Keon Johnson 4. And then Eubanks will probably be 5. But Eubanks and Reddish, I think, have the highest ceiling out of the bunch.
Yeah, and just looking at our minutes projections here, which by the way, 50% off any package, weekly or monthly, whatever it is, 50% off, links in the description and in chat. Or you want the lineup generator that'll spit lineups out for you without having a second thought. You can lock players, you can swap players, you can save as many lineups as you want. That's half off for the first week, which gets you down to $4.48. We just had a couple people hit big using the lineup generator. Just generate, boom, spit those lineups out for less than $4.50 for the first week. All of that in the description. Jordan can throw it in the chat. But just looking at this Portland team, and then we'll turn it over to Live Before Lock because there's not much from Sacramento. But from a minutes perspective, we've got Thibault leading the team with 30, Sharp at 29, Nasir Little at 28.5, Reddish at 28. I mean, these are all conservative because we don't really know. It's really hard to project minutes when you're taking all of these top minutes getters off of the floor, Rimpack. But despite all of that, despite these minute projections, the prices are so low that they're still going to be insanely popular.
Yeah. And you got to be willing to mix and match and take some chances on guys who you're not used to playing at all. Like, we're not used to playing guys like Cam Reddish we played in the previous years, but Shaedon Sharpe is not like a household name. This guy's uber talented. He was the number 1 high school recruit in the country before he went to Kentucky. And he's insanely talented, but he's really raw, like raw talent. So be willing to take some chances here. Nasir Little has been with Portland for some time. I think he certainly has that offensive usage within him. We've played Keon Johnson last year, so this team is just so much usage. So many minutes are going to be available. Be willing to take some chances on this Portland team, and that starting lineup will be helpful, but don't fully buy into that starting lineup because when the starting lineups rolled out like this, you never know what bench player might get that extra burn just because of good play. So be willing to take some chances on the bench players.
Yep, and they're facing a Sacramento team with with the bottom 10 defense and a top 10 plays at a top 10 pace. All right, the quickest you could ever wrap up a team, Sacramento, because we got to get out of here. Yeah,
I mean, you can certainly play Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. They certainly have upside to take care of business in 3 quarters of play. I think Monk certainly could have that upside if he's going to get some potential blowout run, or even Keegan Murray. Seems gross, but he can certainly find a way to get some extra minutes there. But that's really about it. Paying up for Sabonis seems fine to do so. They should definitely eat against this shorthanded Portland team.
See, Calvin, I told you we could go a couple minutes over. Everything's okay. I've done this before. We've done this before. Appreciate you guys. You're the best. Stick around. Live Before Live coming up next. Check out the Stokastic Hall of Fame right now. All you big winners getting the free months, getting inducted into the HOF as you wait for Live Before Lock as we turn the pages over. Greg and Eric coming up next, taking you through 7:30. Good luck tonight. Peace. Yo, it's that time of week again where we're inducting you fine people into the Hall of Fame right here at Stokastic and giving away some free monthly memberships of Stokastic Plus Platinum, $120 value. And we got a ton of monster winners this week. Also, some people with some great success with that lineup generator and all the tools, even in NHL with the NBA during the All-Star break. Let's dive into this. All you got to do if you want to get that free month, you want to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar, then tweet your screenshot of your wins. And maybe you want to say something nice, maybe you don't, that's okay. Make sure they go to @StokasticHOF. Get that free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Get up here, inducted into the Hall of Fame. We'll do the rest of the work for you. First up on the board, monster win from Michael Heating. 62,500. Thank you, gentlemen, with this couple few salute emojis. Huge win for Mike. May not have the avatar, but he's shouting out the boys with a huge win, and we appreciate it. Next up, Claudius Gothicus. Nice little $10,000 win here. Rocking the Stokastic avatar. I'll try and read this one. I'm not sure exactly what it means. Maybe I'm just out of the loop here. They played themselves, Greg Ehrenberg, While you're hating and being jealous, you could be over here embracing that love, Josh. More love, more blessing, more life. They never believed in us, Gundecker. They didn't want to see us get the free months. Stokastic NBA to a bag. Congrats, man. $10,000 win in the Micro Millions opener, by the way. Massive field on that. Next up, you got Flux Capacitor. All right, Captain Gel, $15,000 win right there with a simple at Stokastic Hall of Fame. Another big win for the week. And Jay Hood with 10,000. Big shout out to the Stokastic team for getting me on some players I didn't want to roster. I hand built this time because I was only playing 20 lineups, so the 3 hours of content was needed. I'll try and send some super chat love your way tomorrow. Appreciate you, man. And congrats, Jay Hood. Another 5-figure victory right there. And our very own Jake Hari been pumping out some NFL content, especially during the All-Star break. Hopefully you've been paying attention. Ran very good to win an FHWC ticket by getting a late Pitt 1 goal. So I guess first line of Pittsburgh to go along with Dusty Montreal 3. Shout out to Slim Cliffy, Josh, and Pete Matt. Listen, these guys are crushing the NHL game, content game, and the Top Stacks tool for making me force some Pitt 1 lineups into my crunch is one of the highest leverage spots on the slate. Boom, punching his ticket, $19,500 value. And then T, or Go Army 54, big thanks to the Stokastic team, lineup cruncher, killed it for me. Again, things talking about lineup generator, but we'll take it. $5,000 right there in the NBA shot. And Zach McMurray, I love seeing this, right? The NBA All-Star break. We're going to throw our hat in the ring for some new sports. Well, Zach decided to try out PGA DFS for the first time ever this weekend. Ended with a couple of binks. Shout out to the guys at Stokastic. Best tools and analysis in the business. Appreciate you, man. Huge. $3,500 win there, and then $222 again in the pitching wedge. 25 cents to enter. Gotta love seeing that. And how about Max Pierce? Once again, NBA All-Star break. Let's see what we can do with some hockey. Max said, first time ever playing NHL. Don't know a single player's name. The tools did all the work for me. Let's go. Yeah, look at that. Micro forecheck, hip check, quarter jukebox, enforcer, all that good stuff coming out with an awesome night in a sport that he doesn't even know the player's name. And how about reclaim this gold, right? TT Bailey Finch got the NBA lineup generator. I told you guys for the price, you're not going to beat it. Got the NBA lineup generator on the very first slate. This happened. Third place in the N1, right? Single or 20 entry max, $1 to enter. This guy, third place, $600. Huge. Love to see the lineup generator got you there, and yourself, of course. Boom Bust Tool, maybe the greatest invention ever from KB. $500 right there. Another nice win. Actually, looks like he had a bunch of wins there with a $1,100 win on top of that. And Arnold closing it out with Stokastic Hall of Fame. Thank you, guys. $300 win, third place in the N1. Congrats to everybody. You've now been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Come collect your free memberships at Stokastic Plus Platinum and rock that avatar. Get it at stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame.
We'll talk about it after, because I actually need to know what you guys went over and what wasn't.
I suppose I can do that.
Yeah. Good.
I'm nice like that.
What is happening, everybody? Guess what? The NBA is back, and it did not waste any time being a total pain in the ass, because you think we got a totally normal slate for the comeback, right? Nobody's really on the injury report, and you start to think like, hey, this is going to be a tight slate. There's not going to be a lot of value. I'm not exactly sure what angles we're going to go down. And then, of course, like the Portland Trailblazers are unable to travel due to weather. So they end up ruling out Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant. They still got the scrubs going over there. So that's where our value comes into play. Everything is upside down now, but it's nice because we wouldn't have NBA any other way. We've been off for a week. We're back now. As you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to No House Advantage, who's sponsoring today's show. Eric, what's happening? How was your time off?
It was good. Tip to tip, back in action, baby.
Oh, yeah,
Let's get it going right off the bat. We had a nice luge practice over the 7 days that we were off. I was still in the golf streets quite a bit. So make sure you guys check out Odd Shopper Golf. We've got a new channel going over there. You want to be taking advantage of that. So it's in association with Odd Shopper, our sister. Well, I call them, they're all underneath the Stokastic umbrella. So check it all out. Good stuff. Watching Carnage at the Honda Classic, that was an enjoyable thing to do while researching NBA. But otherwise, yeah, doing great. How was your break?
I did absolutely nothing. I didn't do shit. I sat in my room and hung out, and pretty much it. I was like a day into it, and I was ready for NBA to come back. And there was like I posted some hockey bets online. I was doing some like college basketball betting just based on some of the new tools that we have at OddsShopper. But like I don't know anything about most of this stuff. It was profitable, but like I'm not sweating it, and I was just like I placed money, and then the next day I would check to see if I'd won anything or not. But yeah, I'm ready for NBA to come back, and more importantly, to talk about this Blazers situation.
Oh, my dear God.
First of all, do you have any concerns the game just doesn't play?
Until you said it before the beginning of the show, I didn't think about it. And then I think I just processed it in the second that you just said that, because I don't think it hit me before. We were talking about other stuff, but there's a non-zero chance. I will say, because of how blatantly obvious it is to just play Portland, if something were to happen, I find it impossible to believe that DraftKings.com would not be refunding your entries for something like this. Like, it would be pretty insane to think if that game got canceled at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, that there's no way. Now, if we can react to it, if it's like before 8 p.m. Eastern time, probably not. But like, I'm not saying that that's a foregone conclusion or anything, but I would put it at like 5% that it would get canceled. I'm pretty sure it still goes.
Yeah, it's in the back of my mind as a possibility, especially with the Blazers, not playing Damian Lillard and not playing Jeremy Grant today. The reason I don't think it matters too much for the purpose of this slate, if it does get canceled, I think we're going to know in advance. The other thing too is that if it does get canceled, total shit show. We're going to end up free rolling on this slate. So
that's what I said.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the way I'm looking at it. But as of right now, it's so hard to avoid all of the Portland value. I don't know where you're at in terms of running lineups and looking at where everything stands. God. But there is so much value from Portland because this was already a banged up team, right? Yusuf Nurkic was out. Mm-hmm. Now we unexpectedly have no Damian Lillard, no Jeremy Grant. And it's also just a slate coming out of the All-Star break. There aren't that many injuries. There are not that many players that we're seeing out. Colin Sexton was out. That matters. But beyond that, we just didn't have that many value plays to get to. And now this is just by far the preeminent value spot on the slate. So how many Blazers are you willing to play in individual lineups?
5 for sure.
Okay.
I would for sure play 5. Again, the fact that I even have to contemplate saying 6, I mean, this is an entire basketball team that aside from Drew Eubanks is sub 4K on DraftKings. Like it is so impossible to imagine a scenario as you're running lineups where you're not getting to an absolute metric ton of them. Now, I think what we should probably talk about more so than who to play, because I think it's pretty obvious. If you don't play Keon Johnson, you're probably a serial killer. If you don't play Nasir Little, you're probably out of your damn mind. Cam Reddish can go get a bucket under these circumstances. At least you would assume he could. Shaden Sharp, I think it's great. Matisse Thybulle is a terrible fantasy producer. Like, how down the pipeline do we want to go? Like, how much interest would you have in Jabari Walker, Kevin Knox, Ryan Arcidiacono? Like, those are the kind of guys that, for me, I'm having the toughest time figuring out what I want to do because I'm just going to get to a metric ton of the other dudes.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be playing the guys far down the line. Now, I'm playing 20 lineups today. If I was playing 150, maybe I'd be taking shots on guys like, Jabari Walker or Kevin Knox or something. But I think what's most likely going to happen is the core guys we talked about, or not that we talked about in length, but you mentioned right there, Cam Reddish, Nasir Little, Shaden Sharp, Keon Johnson. Like, I feel pretty good saying all these guys are going to play substantial minutes. I think a lot of these players, Jabari Walker, Kevin Knox, Ryan Arcidiacono, I think there's a really good chance that these guys play like 18 to 20 minutes and are like, okay, but not good enough.
What's so bad about playing 5 Blazers? Like, if you run an optimizer right now, let me know how many Blazers you get if you make more than like 20 lineups. Like, I'm building out 50 today. And let me just double check because I was doing some stuff before the show. Mm-hmm. And I'm positive that you get to 5. Yeah, I got to 4 of 50 that are 5-player stacks. Now, do you want to do that? Would it feel more comfortable to everybody to just go to 4? Probably. But they're so cheap. They have to play minutes. There are enough bodies where it's not like super diluted to the point of like an 8-person roster like we saw during COVID at times with like Golden State, Miami. But I do still think that there is like a case to maybe get to 5. I'm not saying that that's like the ideal scenario. So like what I'm willing to do is probably 4 to kind of re-answer that question. But like if you got to 5, I wouldn't call you crazy.
Yeah, and by the way, to address something, because TC Creasy in chat saying 20 lineups my ass, Greg. I saw your 200 lineups in the 150 contest, you cheater. It's 20 lineups from my account. I don't.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. The ones that come from my wife's boyfriend's account are not included in this. That's something totally separate.
I can say for a fact I did not miss those jokes while I was gone. For 1 week, I did not miss wife's boyfriend's jokes at all.
I find that unlikely.
Okay.
I find that very unlikely. What did your wife do with her boyfriend?
Honey? No, I have no idea.
Well, we've got some super chats coming in. And also, by the way, if you guys have any questions for us in Discord, at me, we'll be answering those as well. Ace of Spade wants to know picks for DK tiers to show you how far off I am off my game. Typically, I was remembering in some of the other shows that I knew we were going to get our super chat from Ace of Spade asking us about DK tiers. We usually will get a super chat from Jay asking us about Showdown, but I haven't run those yet. So Ace of Spade, I'm going to get back to you in a second. I'm just going to run some lineups here to get an answer for you on that. But in the meantime, we do have questions from Lippy. Eric Johnson's back. He is 100% of Luka today. Is that too much? One of the rare times you've been on a player 100% of that it hasn't been totally insane.
Yep, that's not. Today, Junior, get to the ceilings. Get to the ceilings. This is stars and scrubs to the max. I don't know what else to say. You just play Embiid, Jokic, SGA, LeBron, Luka, Tatum. I'm not even looking at the page. I'm just like listing every stud. You just play a lot of studs, and Luka is one of them. So yes.
So let's answer. I know this isn't what Eric's question is. Sorry, Lippy. I never did. Do I use people's real names or their Discord names? I know it's Eric, but let's answer this a little bit of a different way. Because first of all, if you're playing 20 laps, I don't think 100% of Luka is totally insane. I think that's an okay way to do this. Good matchup against the Spurs, unlimited value on the slate. But if you're trying to prioritize your spend ups today, what would be your top 3 in order if we want to get to?
Let me just pull it up here. I was doing something else. Let's go to my page. Here it is. I have Jokic number 1, which is weird because I artificially, like, I don't like Jokic as much as I like Luka, Joel Embiid, SGA. But Jokic is coming in really low owned right now. He's 13.4% in our last run. For me, trying to cut some ownership, trying to find some ways of getting a little bit different. If you can find paths to just get up to Jokic and get up to blank stud not named Luka or Embiid because they're pulling all of the ownership, I think that's a pretty good way to go about it. So that's something that right now, if the ownership's held, Jokic would be my highest owned just from an ownership perspective. Even though he's in the worst spot, Luka would be 2 and Embiid would be 3.
So I am right now Luka 1, Embiid 2, and Jokic 3, but strong considering flipping Jokic and Embiid, some of the ownership I have to them, especially because we've got the illness situation with Embiid. He didn't participate in shoot around today. He's dealing with an illness. According to Glenn Rivers, the aforementioned scientist on all things health and wellness related, he said that he expects Embiid to play. I do have a little tiny bit of concern about him missing shoot around today and him apparently being sick. So once again, Embiid is still going to be somebody I get to a whole bunch of, but I might go a little bit higher on Jokic just because of the ownership gap and some of the concerns about the illness. It's not something that would cause me to fade Embiid, but I might end up going a little bit higher on Jokic.
While we're on this topic, I think this is a good, this is something that I kind of want to carve out with you. We have a lot of players above 9K to pay up for today. Like, who are your favorite contrarian guys to get to? Because I do think those 3 are pretty clear cut. Like, you're going to get to lots of them just when you have a bunch of 3K players. But I'm trying to intertwine other players. I have 2 guys in particular that I really like above 9K that I'm almost just forcing into lineups. And I'm curious if you're on the same guys. But I've got 2 specifically. I didn't know if there was anybody you had your eye
on. Like what ownership?
I'm saying anybody 9K and above on DK.
Oh, so anybody 9K and above, let me look at what is.
Because I don't know if people are going to artificially give Fox and Sabonis the boost that they should get just because of how much we like Portland and how much you should like Portland. You're kind of crazy if you don't like Portland. It's not even that interesting. I saw Josh make a comment as I got into the chat where he was just like, yeah, it's probably the least interesting team to talk about. Yeah, because you just play a lot of them. But I want to get to like the Sacramento side, and I don't know if people are going to get to the Sabonis and the Fox the way they should, because if this game is competitive and you have 4 or 5 Portland Trailblazers in your lineups, like, I was kind of explaining before, don't we want to play some Sabonis and Fox artificially?
So I have some of them. Okay. The problem though is just the price point, right? De'Aaron Fox, because you don't just need them to do well based on where they're priced. They also have to do better than all the players priced around them. Fox is $9,400 on FanDuel and $9,800 on DK. Like, you don't just need a good game from Fox. You legitimately need him to score like nearly as much as players like Luka and Embiid and Jokic.
It's true. And it's not like these Portland players aren't going to have optimal plays from it. Like, the floor is so high for a Keon Johnson, for a Nasir Little. Like, they could have decent games and they're still going to end up in winning lineups, and then you need the right studs with them. But I was just thinking of like the scenarios where if you played 4 or 5 Portland players and it just went nuts, which I don't know. I've seen a lot of Sacramento basketball this year. Tends to happen more often than it doesn't. They do not play defense. They are very good offensively. If you just have a game that goes berserk, you would think Sabonis and Fox would be part of the reason.
Yeah, to me though, once again, it's more than just. And by the way, I have let's see, I don't have exposure to Fox. I do to Sabonis though, because Sabonis is somebody who's just been an outstanding fantasy producer, and I think he's as much ceiling as anybody, especially the triple double upside. It's really to me just the fact that these guys are so expensive that I can't prioritize them.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, I'm just trying to like make a case for players that aren't those studs that are pulling all the ownership. Again, for me, that's why Jokic is so appealing, is that we know what that ceiling is. The dude is out of his damn mind. It's the worst possible matchup you could run into in Cleveland. That is, I think, what everybody's apprehension is. The guy's been like minus 180 or minus 170 now in a couple of games to go for a triple double on DK. He's like nearly plus 200 today. And even I had some pause there, but like, it's Nikola Jokic at sub 15% on a slate where we have infinite values. So for me, that makes him kind of the guy that I'm getting to the most.
All right, let's hit on some of these super chats first from Ace of Spade. I do have lineups run for tiers now, and tier 1 ended up being Luka for me. Tier 2, Embiid came out most frequently. It's crazy that Joel Embiid is in tier 2. Talk about the disrespect the Phillies, the Philly fans bring up all the time.
The dude is legitimately leading the league in scoring.
Yeah, tier 2 for Embiid is ridiculous. So I go with him there. Tier 3, SGA. Tier 4, I do go De'Aaron Fox. So there's a spot where he fits in. Tier 5, I got to Loughran Markkanen the most by a pretty significant amount. Tier 6 was really spread thin. Boncaro, Clarkson, Desmond Bane, Klay Thompson. I think all these guys are fairly similar. Klay ended up being the most rostered one for me, but not by much. I think it's pretty split amongst those guys, and Jaren Jackson Jr. as well. So those are the top guys. Ace of Spade for me, tier by tier. If you have any follow-up question, just throw it into throw it into YouTube. Doesn't have to be a super chat, and I will answer it for you. That was where I ended up standing on the tiers. The next question we have from Cheyenne DeWald. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that Portland plays tonight? Also, thanks to Stokastic content, I made $84 on NHL with zero knowledge. Well, there you go. And by the way, if anybody else wants to make money on NHL with zero knowledge, you can sign up for the tools we have below. 50% off the first package you sign up for. If you sign up for a platinum pass, you can get all our NBA tools as well as NHL, MMA, every single sport you could think of, all included in that package. Just sign up using the link below. 50% off the first thing you sign up for. As for Cheyenne's question, scale 1 to 10, how confident are you that Portland plays tonight? I'll give it an 8.5.
I'll give it 9.5 because I said, 5% before? Or I thought it might. Sense. So that is the correct assignment to that number.
There we go. I gave it 8.5. Eric gave it a 9.5. It's almost certainly going to play. I wouldn't let
Jericho Sims dunk.
We've got our guy Al here. Al wants to know who guards Jokic. I think Mobley could bust loose if Allen spends time on Jokic.
Who cares? They're both so good defensively.
Who guards Jokic? They're probably
Jared
going to
Allen.
double team him, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say, going to be a lot of that.
Primarily Allen, just because of, let's see. Let's look at it's going to be double teams, right? It's going to be a team effort.
Yep. And you're talking about the two best interior defenders in the like tandem in the NBA. So like, just don't think about it. I don't care. Like for me, it's just ownership and opportunity, and it's Jokic. And again, I don't know what else to say. Like it's an obviously tough spot, but it's Nikola Jokic sub 15%.
Yeah, and so we said before about the interior defense. These are the top 3 rated defenses in the NBA, counting down from 3 down to 1 to build some anticipation. 3 is the Milwaukee Bucks. 2 is the Memphis Grizzlies. Number 1, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that is your number 1 defense in the entire NBA. Also, they play at the slowest pace of any team in the league when you're adjusting there. So it's a tough matchup. The worst combination possible. Slowest pace and number 1 defense. And Nikola Jokic still is somebody I want to get to because he's Nikola Jokic.
Exactly.
Ben Anthony, I need value. He needs value, Eric. Absolutely needs it. He wants us to help him out. He's really late. Who are the must plays?
Keon Johnson.
So if I'm rattling off the players who I would consider to be the best value plays on the entire slate, like must play, particularly for cash games. If you're playing a cash game, the players that I think you absolutely must get to. Keon Johnson is projected for 1,000,000% ownership. Talen Horton-Tucker, who I expect to start at point guard with Colin Sexton out. And then you just got your pick of whoever the hell you want from the...
Yeah, a lot of Portland.
Blazers.
Nasir Little, Shaedon Sharpe, I would say everybody except for... Like the only guy I think starting that isn't a must is Drew Eubanks. And I think that's pretty clear cut because of the positionality.
I don't think Thibault is a must for cash.
Oh yeah, definitely not either. And he'll be starting. So I guess that's a good amendum. Is that what you did? You amended what I said? Yeah.
An amendment.
Thank you.
I amended what you
I was going to
said.
say addendum, but I don't think that's the correct usage of that word.
No, so I would have preferred if you said that and sounded stupid, and then I
Thanks.
wouldn't have corrected you. I would have just let you go through life thinking that's what that meant.
I'm going to sound stupid by default anyway, so it is what it is.
Fair.
Accept
Good
it.
point.
Thank you.
One of the smarter things you said, to be honest. Portland Trailblazers.
I'm smart for a dumb person.
Portland Trailblazers. Here are the 4 players that I would say, like, if you say, like, I'm 4 players, Portland and cash, who should it be? I would say Keon Johnson, Nasir Little, Cam Reddish, Shaedon Sharpe.
Uh-oh, chat says Keon sucks.
I'm sure. I believe he does as well.
He's 3K and playing Sacramento, and there's nobody there. So I do not care.
Here's a question, though. If he's not starting, which is very possible, if he's not starting, how would your feelings about him change, if at all?
I mean, I would probably try to get to whomever else. Like in that scenario, you're probably looking at a starting lineup of like Reddish, Little. I mean, Archie Diacono could definitely start too, I suppose. I don't know why you would do that. It's been there for like a cup of tea, but doesn't matter today. I would probably just kind of find paths to get to the other guys. You're going to have so much exposure there that you shouldn't overthink it. It's the last game. Last window of games of the night there, you should have an opportunity to get onto something else in a combination of those starters.
Yeah, and also it is key, like you said, it's later game in the night. I mean, who else is live to start for them? I guess Archie Diacono could start.
That's what I said. Yeah, it could be.
We'll see what that starting lineup
Again, it
like.
doesn't matter. We just play a ton of them. I mean, it matters in terms of like when it happens, but you're still going to play Keon Johnson. You're going to get to some Keon Johnson, regardless if he starts or not. I think we only have him projected for like 23.5 minutes, and he still like breaks the slate.
Yeah, we'll see what the starting lineup looks like. We're probably not going to get it during the post-lock show, but you never know. Eric and I are going to be sticking around for 30 minutes after lock to talk about whatever ends up happening with late news, any types of unexpected starting lineups. We're talking about that, of course, sweating what happens in the early games and breaking down no house advantage picks against the house, which they've got one of the best offers out there right now. Have you seen the prop line on Ja Morant on NHA today, Eric?
Yeah, because I played it on NHA today.
Did you like the over, the under?
It's slightly on the over of that one.
So if you guys are not playing NHA props against the house, they have a prop up for Ja Morant today. His over-under for points is 0.5. That is a free square. Go take advantage of that. So we're going to be talking more about that later on in the show. We're going to be building out some lineups, but NHA, they have props you can play against the house. And if you haven't signed up at NHA, use our link below. It's going to get you to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. But in addition to that, they've got these props against the house that you could play, even if you're in a state that doesn't have legalized sports betting. And we're going to start with a free square, Ja Morant over 0.5 points. So we'll build out some of those a little bit later. Let's see what we have in terms of additional questions here. Corey Shea, top 5 contrarian plays on DK.
Ooh.
Top 5 contrarian plays. 5 might be hard to come across, to be honest.
I was going to say well, I know. I mean, I'm making enough lineups where I can kind of talk. I'm just trying to find like the pieces that are low on. Most of them end up being studs for what it's worth, because the value, we kind of know where we want to go with it. I will call anything sub 15% on this slate contrarian for the sake of that conversation. That's where Jokic is just like number 1 for me. It's Nikola Jokic, and people want to play tons of Luka and Embiid, and I totally get it. I'm going to be playing tons of them too. But Jokic, pretty easy to get over the field at these kind of numbers. And then Jason Tatum, I really, really like, just because of the small forward, power forward positionality, 7%, just kind of nifty there as well. And then I'll go Anthony Davis, because he's kind of like the forgotten center there. I understand LeBron James there too at 10-7. You could probably play him small forward positionality, but with as much ownership as we expect to go to Embiid, and we currently have going to Embiid, and then Nikola Jokic up there, why wouldn't you take some shots on Davis? I like this starting 5 for the Lakers. I don't know how they were able to turn Russell Westbrook into Malik Beasley and D'Angelo Russell and have actual shooting surrounding LeBron and then opening the floor up. I think Anthony Davis is going to have some ceiling games. It's going to be really, really hard. In years past, we've seen them both like right around 9,800, 9,900. It's a little bit of an overpay getting to Anthony Davis here, but before he got hurt, he was having just a ridiculous season. You know, if he can produce it, anything close to that 1.5, 1.55 fantasy point per minute rate that he's been at this season, really, really like getting to him for tournaments.
Let's see for myself, and also refreshing the ownership page. Kelly Olynyk is projected for under 15% ownership. Really like getting to him. And I know for a little bit he was struggling to coexist alongside Walker Kessler. Honestly, I love both him and Walker Kessler today. I think Walker Kessler, he's like, Kessler's right on the fringe.
I love Kessler so much.
Of what we're talking about. But 5,700 is way too cheap for him today. On DraftKings, $5,700 for Walker Kessler. I love getting to him. Even $7,000 on FanDuel. I think that's a pretty playable price point. Jokic, we talked about him. Kelly Olynyk having the power forward eligibility, and the fact that, all right, so for a long time, he was struggling to coexist alongside Walker Kessler, but the recent results have looked a lot better. We've seen an increase in his rebound rate. His usage has gone up 26.6% the final game before the All-Star break. We saw it increased overall across the last week prior to the All-Star break. And I assume he's going to be in more of a facilitating role with Colin Sexton out now as well.
A lot of Malachi Branham love in the chat. That is fascinating to me.
What qualifies as a lot?
2 people back to back. I mean, they didn't see the name and then just type it out again. It looks like they hit enter at the same time. So it was just, the fates aligning on a 0.73 fantasy point per minute guy who he played well last game.
10 of 14 from the field.
Cool. Whatever. San Antonio, outside of Zach Collins, I don't really have any interest.
I have some exposure to him as well. Anything else you want to bring up as far as contrarian plays go?
No, I mean, I just listed off all the studs. Value, I love Kelly Olynyk. I'm completely there with you as well. I think that the power forward eligibility is really, really nice there too. I mean, I was going to make a case for, some other things, but they've gone by the wayside since Portland.
Starting lineup for the Pistons, it is Hayes, Ivy, Bogdanovich, Stewart, Duran. I really had no clue what to expect from them. And I know we got a question in chat before that I wanted to bring up. I was waiting until we got that starting lineup for the Pistons. Where did it go? Dr. 2-Inch wanted to know thoughts on James Wiseman as a tournament pivot. It's hard for me to get behind James Wiseman. Not on this slate.
Yeah, but to speak to that, my favorite play on NHA today in terms of props, I really like Bojan Bogdanovic over 3.5 rebounds. I think that's my favorite for versus the house. It doesn't project out as well in NBA Bet Pro, but I was running some numbers on my end with the offensive rebound rate compared to Duren. Every minute that Wiseman's going to be on the floor, and I don't know what to make. They got blown up by the Celtics last game in the debut, but you saw an even timeshare. Maybe Duren, I know he was coming off an injury as well, so there were some cases that could be made blowout injury. Maybe they just limited Duren. Maybe it goes back to like a 28-20 type split here, and I'm wrong, but in the event that it gets to like 24-24, James Wiseman is an awful offensive rebounder, right around 7%. You've got Duren, who's 14%, 90th percentile in that degree over the course of this season. So for every minute that it's Wiseman on the floor as opposed to Wiseman as opposed to Duren on the floor, every starter, everybody else on the floor is going to get a little bit of a bump, and it's ever so slightly, but I have Bojan projected right around 4.5 rebounds. So, I mean, a full rebound difference is a large number when you're talking about a guy that is playing 32 minutes a night. And there aren't many road spots for Detroit where they're going to be within 7 points of a spread like they've got tonight. So, a chance for a couple of extra minutes, assuming this game stays relatively close.
Super chat from Robert Kermutula. He wants to know top 5 for FanDuel cash only. And he's using 2 from Portland. Honestly, I think you should probably be using more than 2 players from Portland in cash.
Yes, you should have probably 4.
So for reference as well,
maybe 5.
If you look on FanDuel right now, our ownership projections, 3 of the 4 most popular players on FanDuel are from Portland. I think you need to have, unless something changes with starting lineups, I think you need to have Keon Johnson on FanDuel, need to have Nasir Little, need to have Drew Eubanks, who is power forward and center eligibility on FanDuel. And then pretty close between Reddish and Thibault. I'll lean towards Reddish, but you should have 4 Portland players in cash, in my opinion.
I just ran our optimal because I was curious. Only 3 Portland players on DK in the optimal, but I guess it makes sense because you got THT, Olynyk, Jokic in our optimal. That makes me happy too.
But to answer your question, I'm going to say Keon Johnson, Nasir Little. I'm going to give you more than what you asked for, by the way. Keon Johnson, nice. Nasir Little, Jordan Clarkson, Drew Eubanks, Taylor Horton Tucker. And I will add Cam Reddish into that as well. And then pay up for Luka. There you go. It's like your entire lineup.
That was nice of you.
Go win some cash, Robert.
Yeah.
The next super chat is from Riley Cooper 14. Maybe a different Riley Cooper than the one I'm thinking of. Any love for the Fultzmeister? Not from Riley Cooper, but any love for Markelle Fultz from you?
I normally love this man, and I don't think I'm going to be doing it today. No, I have 3. I have 3 lineups out of 50. That's cool.
I have some exposure to Markelle Fultz. Not anything significant. One thing that's kind of nice is I was really dreading the Orlando Magic rotation when they got everybody healthy. Fultz is playing a shit ton of minutes as of late. Like, he doesn't seem to be impacted by the depth of this team. And it looks like he is the guy they like the most at point guard. So I think Markelle Fultz is where I have him in 2 out of my 20 lineups right now.
Cool.
And I don't think that's going to change before lock either.
Sounds great.
Let's see. Corey Shea, 6,700 average per player left in DK 20. 2 guards, 1 utility. Where to go? Well, this is going to be tough. So he's got 3 spots left, and he has $6,700 left.
What? 3 spots, 6,700.
6,700 average left.
Oh, see, how are we supposed to do that? I basically have to just build it out and give us a window. I mean, there are so many combinations within 3 at a salary average that it's just impossible to answer that.
Boy, Eric is just not wanting to be helpful. He's kind of...
I don't know what you want me to say. I'm not going to click the name in. And then, again, there are so many variables. If you give us a range for like 2v2 at 6,700, I can maybe do that. But you get to 3 to try to ask that. I don't want to give you disingenuous advice. It would be insane for me to answer that question.
Okay. I am going to... Yeah, this is very difficult. I'm
trying to
do the math.
You're actually doing more hurt than help by answering the question.
Not if I give him the nuts.
Okay. Well, then Go you. It's all you, bro.
All right. So he needs 2 guards. But here's what's also going to be hard. I'm going to give him somebody who's already in his lineup. Taylor Norton Tucker would be one of them. Taylor Norton Tucker would be one.
Yeah, but now you have to do the change in terms of salary and find the 2.
Yeah, I'm doing it in my head right now.
Oh my God.
I'm doing it in my head. All right. So
thanks for nothing, Eric. You're welcome.
If he does,
you're welcome.
My dad's calling me.
That was nice.
So it's absolutely, all of my phone calls today have been wildly unimportant. This is also not going to be an important one. But
scuba.
So if we do, one of them is going to be THT for 4,800. The next one, I'm going to say Keon Johnson at the flat min. All right. So now we have used 7,800. He's got about 11,100 left. And that spot would go to Embiid.
Great job, Greg.
Embiid, Keon. I think I did that.
I'm waiting for him to send a message being like, I already have so-and-so out of that 3v3 in my lineup. What else do I do? It's like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. That was
trying.
Way to put in that effort. I was not.
Michael Applegate, not playing today, but shout out to Team Stokastic. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. See, that was fantastic and efficient time-wise.
Sir Dwayne Moody. Gentlemen, who has the most probability to get a triple-double? Harden, Morant, Jokic, Luka, Draymond, Sabonis, Giddey.
It's Jokic every time.
He averages a triple-double.
You literally just, he's inside of plus 200 still against Cleveland, the toughest matchup, slowest pace. And he's still he's inside of 2-1 to triple-double. He's by far the most likely person on every slate he appears to triple-double.
Who would you call the second most likely?
Let me pull my numbers here for you. I will say I did have a crazy bet today on my betting card that I'm very surprised that I liked, but it was 14-1 plus 1,400 on Jordan Poole to double, which I didn't expect to be betting, but I have it around a 10% likelihood. That's 400 cents plus 1,400 as opposed to plus 1,000. That would be. Seems like a pretty decent number to be getting on Jordan Poole to double. Obviously, I'm looking at the assists. Very unlikely he ends up getting the rebounds to do it, but Lakers, pace up. I think that might be kind of what pushed it over the edge for me, why I projected out decently.
He doesn't want double-doubles, though, Eric. He wants triple-doubles.
Oh, my God. I just wanted to give him something that was way off the board, that somebody might want. Let's see. I mean,
it's Jokic for me, 1, Sabonis 2.
Yeah, Sabonis, but isn't he plus 600 or something? It's unlikely.
He didn't ask us for anything other than who's most likely to triple-double.
All right, well, then you win. Once again, Greg. Yeah, I'm the bad cop today. What happened? You're playing good cop today.
I'm just trying to listen. We've not talked about basketball for a week. I'm taking this very seriously. Very, very seriously, making sure all these questions are answered. People are asking Eric questions too hard. Can't do it. It's too hard for me.
Corey Shea then just said, now Eric can answer too. Thanks, Greg. You guys rock. And then he said, you plural guys. So he's not bitter about it. He understood.
Yeah, no. But he was referencing myself and Jordan as the plural.
Jordan has not reacted to one thing we've said all day long. I think he's playing Hogwarts, if I had a guess. What are you doing? You got up and left for 10 minutes.
Oh, my God. That's hurtful. Well, who do you think is going to triple-double tonight, Jordan Klein? All right. So we got...
So I said something of value that you held on to. Thank you. Absolutely.
Goody.
Dork.
Goody says, guys, I think dork. Frank Jackson playing more point than THT and killing THT chalk. I would be very surprised if Frank Jackson plays more minutes than Taylor Horton Tucker.
What are we talking about? No.
But by the way, we saw Colin say, but he's chalky. If you don't have him in the lineup for ownership purposes, whatever, I could understand that. But last game, Colin Sexton started, and we still saw THT play 32 minutes off the bench, and Taylor Horton Tucker started the second half after Colin Sexton got hurt. I think he's going to play plenty.
Yep. I have a lot of him. He's also shooting guard, small forward. He's a fantastic play. What are you talking about? Watch him go and put up 12. Like, I've rostered THT so much this season when he's been low owned. So, of course, now that he's in everything that I'm doing, like he should be for a lot of people today, it's just like, I don't know. Shout out Iowa State. Go us. It's great.
Noah Levinson, Eric, smile. Do you know that? Do you know the Facebook, the meme that came from Facebook, where it's the old guy, where somebody asks him a question, "Why don't you smile on any of your pictures?" and your response says, "There ain't nothing worth smiling about." That's Eric right now.
That's not true. I'm a very happy person at the moment.
I don't know. You get asked some of these questions, like, "Oh, I haven't been here for a week, and I have to answer questions now."
I'm not answering 3v3s where you give me an average salary and say go. Like that's a different. I'm not being helpful in that regard.
All right, let me find this meme. Yeah. Oh, here it is. I miss it's this old guy, and somebody responds, said a smile might be good, and he said, and his response was, "Nothing to smile about in my life." That's Eric whenever he's asked a 3v3 question. Just impossible. Absolutely.
3v3 where you say I have to plug in the salary. You didn't even give me the 3v3. It's not even a 3v3. It's a 3v eternal. I could come up with any combo.
And out of all those combinations, you were able to come up with 0.
I could have bullshitted something, but then whatever. I'm done. I'm done with you.
All right, Jordan, I'm going to need you to throw this up on the screen, because this is just how Eric goes about life.
Go away, Eric, please.
Right.
Sorry, PJ. I will not. I'm here.
I don't worry, guys. I know that no matter what, at least one of us is going to be able to answer all of your questions. Corey Shea, it's in the 25-cent tourney. LOL, I already have THT, Tatum, Johnson, Kessler, and Olynyk already. Yeah, because that's Eric.
No, Craig, what are you doing?
This is Eric in, like, I don't know, what's this guy in his 60s? So Eric in 4 years from now? This is going to be Eric. Just the same kind of attitude, showing up to work, not happy, just nothing to smile about in my life. That's you.
Oh, thanks, Greg. Appreciate you. We're real friends
next
in real life.
From...
We don't hate each other at all.
No. Best friends.
Yeah, best friends forever. Here you go.
Abby Schreier, do you think Joel Embiid news will come before lock? I expect him to play.
Yeah, he's playing.
It's the same nonsense every Sixers game, though, that we have to deal with for some reason. Like, they don't just tell us whether he's in or not. Glenn has to do his thing. He's like, is he sick? I expect him to play. And
remember the game he didn't know whether his player was going to play or not, and he is the head coach of the basketball team. That was enjoyable.
What happened was Embiid was listed as questionable in the injury report, and Glenn was asked something along the lines of, "Hey, do you have an update on the status of Joel Embiid?" Totally normal thing to ask a coach, and he said, As far as I know, there's nothing wrong with him." Paraphrasing. Then the game starts, and Embiid was just not on the court.
Absolute absurdity. Ooh.
Tell him about the John Rahm prop, Eric.
John Rahm. John Morant.
Oh, I thought you said John Rahm. I was like, I didn't even know there was a John.
No,
Rahm.
John Morant. 0.5 points. Smash it. Go over to Versus the House, no house advantage. Use promo code Stokastic when you sign up. Get yourself up to $100 first match deposit bonus. But he is at 27.5 for the day. It doesn't matter. If he were at 8, you would be taking the over. If you were at 15, you'd take the over. They're just literally giving you a freebie at 0.5 points. Combine it with absolutely anything. I prefer Bojan more than 3.5 rebounds.
So, by the way, the reason I got thrown up, it doesn't lock in 10 minutes short, and they have 40 minutes to get in the. So I thought there was I thought I heard you say John Rahm, and I was confused. Yeah, he's wrong though. The game locks at 7:30. Yeah. No, we got time. The Memphis game, unless the prop comes off the board, then. Oh, okay. Well, the game doesn't lock until 7:30, but
You got to get it in now. You got
all right.
You
So
got to bet it now.
get your prop in then. So we've got the Ja Morant once again. Easiest bet you're going to make the entire day. Ja Morant over 0.5 points today. He's going to score at least a point. I know another prop I really liked over there. Jakob Poeltl over 7.5 rebounds.
Love it. These are good things.
Talk about more of those in the post-lock show. Justin George, AD and Harrison Barnes, or Laurie and Paulo Banchero for FanDuel. I prefer Laurie and Banchero. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, the second one.
Corey Shea. Now Eric can answer too. Thanks, Greg. You guys rock. Still
Appreciate
refusing
you.
to answer.
But it's not that I'm refusing to answer. It's just a lot to construct for, whatever.
It's Eric's a diva. We're gonna have to change his rider for this.
Oh
He doesn't do 3v3 questions.
Oh, that's all right. You're already an agent. I just have to. You're an agent for other people, not me. You don't care enough about me.
That's damn right. My filler arc, Tyrese, Harden, or Donovan Mitchell. I have Harden the most of those. And by the way, something else too that I think kind of brings a sneaky upside to Harden. If Embiid actually is compromised and isn't able to play full minutes, like I think there's additional upside there for Harden. So
agreed.
Harden.
Love that. Yep.
Avi Schreier, have you seen Breast Men with David Schwimmer?
I have not.
I've seen very limited with David Schwimmer, other than he was in Friends.
He was.
I
saw the O.J. Simpson trial. He was on that. He played.
That's true. He was really good in
Kardashian. He was really good in that. He played the Kardashian dude.
There was a kid I went to camp with. His name was Ben Schwimmer, not related to David Schwimmer, but we used to set him up with girls by telling him that he was his nephew, and it was way more successful than it should have been.
Isn't Ben Schwimmer Ben Schwartz is the dude from Parks and Rec?
Yeah. No, this is somebody different.
Different person.
Sam Van Dam. I have 50K left on DK8 positions to fill. Who you got?
I knew somebody was going to do it. I'm glad that the low hanging fruit was good enough for you.
Glad I can answer his question.
No, I'm not.
Eric being unhelpful once again.
Once again, just not giving the full lineup like a diva.
Andrew Steele is Keon Johnson a fade candidate at that ownership or match the field and get different elsewhere? I'm playing a bunch of Keon Johnson. Assuming he starts, I am going to get way lower. If he's not starting, I'll probably take him out of my player pool.
I would concur.
And we are going to, nope. Avi Schreier, check out Breast Men for a good laugh. Boy, he's really trying to sell that movie.
Really, really wants us to watch whatever.
Avi Schreier is Archie Diacono viable on FanDuel? Score 25 fantasy points. If he starts, for sure.
Yep.
I wouldn't play him if he doesn't start, though.
Yep.
Corey Shea, I'm paying $20 to get Eric to answer a question.
What?
He just wants you to answer a question, Eric.
Paying $20 to get Eric to answer a question. It's $1.99. What question do I need to answer? What?
His lineup. Corey Shea, he's saying, go back. I gave you the other players. He's being demanding. He wants a super chat answer.
Oh, my dear God. All right. 6,700. I didn't see the other players come through. Everybody, there's 3,000 people in here. The chat is flying. People are making fun of me in very mean ways. I'm not going to whine. I'm done.
All right.
I get
That's going to be Eric's decision right there.
Just be on my side one time. Take my side one time, Greg.
Let's look in
or
Discord and try to bang out some of these questions. Would you guys rather have 100% or 0% Luka today? I would rather have 100%.
I'd rather have 100%.
That was from Mincash Merchant. J Parker 187007. What's up, brother? What do you think about Poole, Thompson with Joker and Embiid on FanDuel? I like all those guys individually. I don't have any kind of issue. I mean, you can't play Jokic and Embiid in the same lineup, so I'm a little confused.
Yeah, I'm a little confused too. But I do like Jordan Poole today for tournaments. Nobody's clicking him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with any of those guys individually.
Yeah, don't either.
And let's see what else. We got a bunch of questions.
You got all your lineups in, yeah?
I'm pretty sure. Let me double
check
my CSV.
Just I mean, it's 5 minutes. That's why I wanted to make sure you had them in before we do anything else.
I know I built them. Whether I uploaded them is always who knows, right? That could be impossible sometimes.
Could be.
But just
like me answering a question, just impossible.
Some questions in Discord. Lippy wants to know thoughts on Fred VanVleet. Eric, I do not have Fred VanVleet exposure. Do you have Fred VanVleet?
I can check for you. Freddie, I have one lineup.
Sniffs. Do we need to make a rule to make sure we don't get Fox and Sabonis? No, I mean, if you had Fox and Sabonis in the same lineup with like 4 or 5 Portland players, it's not the end of the world. You're just hoping for an overtime.
Yeah. Again, that was kind of my thinking of like, if the game goes ballistic, but again, Portland, the prices, like they're just so cheap relative. You don't need to bring back with it. It was just more of a thought exercise.
Ernie P, thoughts on Melton tonight at 3,900 on DK. Don't have exposure to him. And then thoughts on Tobias Harris at 4,900. I do have Tobias Harris exposure. Harris had a really rough go of it this year with all the high usage guys around him, but he is so insanely cheap now that I think we could play him now.
I have 2 lineups with him. So there you go. I guess I didn't even know I had 2 lineups with him. That's good to know.
The next question we have in here is somebody had asked us if we think Pirtle is going to start. Yes, I do think Pirtle is going to start.
Might not Pirtle enough for the Pirtle Club. Pirtle.
Exactly. I think he's starting.
I do too.
Then another follow-up from Lippy wants to know what our thoughts are on Killian Hayes. Boys, he really shit the bed on a bunch of slates as of late. I've some exposure to him, but a minimal amount.
Yeah, I think I have a little. Yeah, I have 16%.
Remember that there was that Spurs slate where I had a bunch of them. He went to triple overtime. He played 40 minutes, scored like 12 fantasy points.
Absolute
in his defense, like what it's nearly impossible to score fantasy points against the Spurs.
Yeah, just they're the worst. They're so good.
Big Dream $, FanDuel GPP, Kessler or Mobley at center. I prefer Kessler.
Same.
Double check the Discord.
I love Kessler today for tournaments. Just love him.
I do too. He would have, if it was not for some of this other value, like he is so egregiously cheap on DraftKings right now at 5,700.
Yep. He's a fantastic play.
Walker Kessler. I bet him for over 2.5 blocks as well.
Every time he scores, though, a Timberwolves somewhere needs a phone call. So make sure you look out for your Timberwolves fans.
Quick question before lock. Sam Van Dam left the super chat for real this time. 8,000 or under power forward on DK. And who should we go with there? 8,000 or under for a power forward on DK. That is Evan Mobley for me.
I like Jaren Jackson Jr. the most.
It's tough because I don't really get exposure to any of these guys.
I don't either, but if you made me pick somebody, I like Jaren Jackson Jr. the most.
I mean, I have Mobley projected the best, but that's also not saying much. Like I have these guys who are like Mobley, Boncaro, Jaren Jackson Jr. have projected all really close to each other, but also well below 40 fantasy points. So it's just not somebody I'd end up rostering. I don't hate Jaren Jackson Jr. for the upside, but I'm not playing him. The power forward that I have, the power forwards I get the most exposure to are Kelly Olynyk and Nasir Little.
What the hell is that stream element, Jordan Klein? What's wrong with you? Sledge, Fox, Sledge. Yertle, the Pirtle. Wow, look at that Pirtle go Sledge, Fox, Sledge. What is that? I don't know who that is. Nope.
You don't remember the super chat extraordinaire?
Oh, yeah. No, he's definitely... He probably went on that Aaron Rodgers retreat that I've heard way too much about lately.
But the Aaron Rodgers retreat, which, by the way, so what was the plan? He was supposed to go away for like 3 days or 4 days or something. He lasted like a day and then left.
He's a loser. Skull.
All right, so we are at lock, but the fun doesn't stop. Eric and I are going to be here for another 30 minutes. We're going to be talking about NHA, some of the props against the house. We gave you a heads up before about Ja Morant. I don't have anything I feel as good about as Ja Morant over 0.5 points, but I still got some other stuff that we could talk about over the course of the next 30 minutes. And then in addition, whatever ends up happening with starting lineups, which, you know, who knows, maybe something weird ends up coming out that we weren't expecting. And they've got 3 games locking. Of the 3 early games, which player is going to be most integral to your lineups?
That just locked?
Yeah. Which player is most important to you from the first 3 games that locked?
Jokic for sure.
Jokic for me as well.
Yep. I ended up on 46% of Nikola Jokic today.
Let me pull up the
I do want to see what he was in the $15 very, very badly. 150K up top today. Let's go.
He is 15.6% owned. So I'm about double the field on Jokic.
Yeah, triple. There we are.
All right. Let's go Jokic. Triple-double time. I know somebody in my Discord as well was betting him for triple-double.
Yeah, I have him in a lot of lineups today. Here we
by
go.
The way, a super chat just came in from our guy, Jay. And anticipating this, he wants to know for the Lakers-Warriors showdown, who are the players that we like the most? Eric, I presume you've not built out showdown lineups?
I have built out some showdown lineups for the Lakers game. Let me pull them up here. I will be doing that tonight because it was golf early in the week here for me. I was just enjoying the splendor of being back in the NBA streets today, and I already built out because I'm going to play that showdown tonight. So let me grab my stuff. Come on. Where is it? All right, got it.
Yep, I'm pulling mine up as
well.
Whoa,
Fred VanVleet now questionable Thursday. Wowzer. Personal. Okay.
So we got that. By the way, of all the random, this is why I think Eric Johnson, I think he's from another planet, because we had the Sam Hauser thing a couple weeks ago. He just asked this question, what is our opinion on Fred VanVleet, who's a very random, nondescript player for this slate? And then he gets downgraded to questionable. What do you know, Lippy?
I mean, you are in tune with things. That is for damn sure. Wowzer. Is that gigantic news?
So we've got time to react because, 27 minutes until the next. So let's answer Jay's question, and then we'll talk about the implications of the Fred VanVleet injury. But to start us off here, let me just do another crunch from this game and see which players I got to most often. But captains, Eric, for Showdown. Who are the captains that showed up most often in your lineups?
All right. Well, I just had to get some stuff in there. Cool. So captain for this slate, LeBron, Anthony Davis. I don't think that should surprise anybody. But then Jordan Poole is the guy that I got to a ton. Joel Embiid will start. That's good. But yeah, Jordan Poole is somebody that I just find to have a little bit more of a ceiling than we're projecting out for. There is a lot of opportunity in this game for him, Klay Thompson, even Draymond Green. The pace of this thing should be moving. It's got a nearly 240 total here. No Steph Curry still. It just Golden State needs to win basketball games too. So I do think in this second half, a lot of Western Conference teams, we're not going to see a lot of the minutes limitations that we might have seen in yesteryear when it comes down to the wire here. So I'm very much looking forward to playing a lot of Western Conference teams that have a lot to play for here. And I think these minutes for starters will be extended pretty early on. Coming off of the break, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, really like them as ceiling options at captain.
Yeah, it's funny. Poole's also the one that I got to. To me, if you're paying up, LeBron and AD are neck and neck. It's really hard to differentiate them. But if you're going a little cheaper, I think the answer is pretty clearly Jordan Poole. And then utility spot, I like Kevon Looney to save salary with. JaMychal Green ended up being a salary saving option for me, as well as Jared Vanderbilt. And then just LeBron, AD, Klay Thompson, Poole, all really good spend up options.
Love it.
We got another super chat here from Corey Bomber. Mitchell and Embiid or Fox and Morant on DK? That would be Mitchell and Embiid for me.
Yep, Mitchell and Embiid. We just got the Toronto starting lineup. Fred VanVleet is not playing basketball today, so that's good to know.
Yes, the starters for the Toronto Raptors are Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Jakob Poeltl. So we don't have that much data on this Raptors team as constructed with Jakob Poeltl in there. But what are we doing with Fred VanVleet being out? Because this is clearly a key piece of news that we were not anticipating at all.
We are going to get ourselves to some Pascal Siakam is what we're going to be doing. If you look at his fantasy scores, 1.3 fantasy points per minute without Fred VanVleet on the floor this season. there's going to be a ton of minutes going towards him too. And I only had 8.5 basically players projected in this rotation. It was going to be thin already. I'm assuming it's got to extend now, but that's a full 0.1 fantasy points per minute difference between Fred VanVleet on and off the floor. So Pascal Siakam, another ceiling option to get to now.
Yeah, going to do some updates here. By the way, let's also pull up, Jordan, can you pull up NHA? I want to see what some of their prop lines are for Raptors players, if they have stuff up. If you could put that on screen, kind sir. Because we already talked about before, I like Jakob Poeltl over 7.5 rebounds. Let's see what else looks good. Yeah, go to the pick'em. Boy, I love watching Jordan navigate the internet.
Wow, that was really rude of you. Can you apologize?
Wow.
So
The
now, buddy?
The anticipation. I like to think we sent so many people over there.
We'll find it here.
Yeah, give it a second. If not, I'm going to pull up.
I'm assuming, I mean, my guess is that they started pulling down props. Whoa, Josh Richardson's starting. Hello.
Yeah, so the starting lineup for the Pelicans is CJ McCollum, Josh Richardson, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, and Jonas Valanciunas. I have not thought about Josh. By the way, real quick to tie Raptors, anything else you like outside of Pascal Siakam?
I'm updating my stuff over there. It's going to take me a second. But I am curious what you think about Chris Boucher 4,200, because now this rotation is starting to trim out a little bit. And coming off the bench, if they're not going to give a ton of run to, let's see, Gary Trent hasn't played for 2 weeks. So there's that. And OG Anunoby has not played for 3 weeks, almost a full month. So there's that. I think Chris Boucher at 4,200 is an awesome tournament play, and you're not going to hear anybody else talking about him at the moment. If you had just blindly played Chris Boucher in tournaments in a lot of spots, it would be great. He is 4,200. That is the cheapest he's been in a week plus, or 2 weeks, I suppose, because the All-Star break. Massive amount of ceiling in even minimal minutes for him. I just boosted his minutes, and I'm getting to tons of Chris Boucher.
Let's see, we've got, look, the Morant prop is still there.
Well, there you go. So play the Morant prop, and then let's see, did they take down? I'm assuming they probably. Toronto. What? Oh, hang on. Pascal Siakam is at 24.5 points. Scotty Barnes is at 15.5 points. I love those. Gary Trent, how many minutes do you have this guy playing? Because I've been staring at NHA at that 16.5 number here. I do think there's a very good chance. It's far less important. I don't think I'm kind of glad I didn't take the under on it now, but like I only had him for 25 minutes today.
So because before we got that question in chat where somebody said, if Poeltl is starting, who do we expect to not start? The answer for me was going to be Gary Trent. And now Trent is starting. So yeah, I just think he plays a massive amount of minutes. Like look at his.
Really? He hasn't played for 2 weeks. It was a strained left calf. It was a lower body injury.
Dude, Nick Nurse doesn't give a shit about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is like him and Thibodeau are like the wrong coaches for the job when it comes to like limiting minutes or trying to predict this. Because like he could be an interesting tournament option. He could also just play 25 minutes because he can't literally play more.
Yeah, that is not Nick Nurse's MO. The other thing too is, I know it's hard to tie some narratives to this stuff, but do you know why the Raptors traded for Jakob Poeltl at the trade deadline and did not sell players as it was assumed that it was going to be? Did you read the story on that or know what
I did not. I just know that I kind of like the construction of the team because Poeltl's just a good real life basketball player.
Yeah. So the common wisdom heading into the trade deadline was the Raptors were going to trade players. The reason people thought that is because they have kind of an older veteranish type team and they're on the outs of the playoffs. What ended up happening though, per a couple of tweets in an article that I read, is that the management went to the front office and said that because of lost revenue during COVID shutdowns and limited attendance, stuff like that, we need to generate revenue and we need to push for the playoffs. That's why they traded for Jakob Poeltl. And that's also, I think, part of the reason why Nick Nurse feels pressured to play all of these starters like 40 minutes per night. So I don't think, I know this is a long way of saying it. I think Gary Trent's going to play a bunch today, and I like getting to him.
Wow. If you're right about that, you are, again, this could be a spot too. A lot of teams do this where they're not going to play a guy until they can play their normal rotation. Like there are teams that do that. Toronto has been one to do that in the past, but it's so hard for me to project him for more than 25, 26 minutes. We have him at 27 today at Stokastic, so nothing drastically different there, but didn't remotely think about him. And now, of course, with no Fred VanVleet in that starting lineup, assuming he's not playing basketball today, we haven't officially seen out. Yeah, we did. Personal ruled out 2 minutes ago.
And
I
Gary
mean, you could just assume it.
Yeah. I'm going to just say 36 minutes for him. I think he plays a
no
bunch.
Fucking way. Are you serious?
I don't
36 minutes? Then you should jam 16 and a half points on NHA tonight. That is such a jam.
I think he's going to play a bunch.
I'm telling you, Chris Boucher is the guy today. I want to get to ungodly amounts of Chris Boucher because I do not share the sentiment that OG Anunoby and Gary Trent are just going to immediately play their regular minutes.
Do you know how many minutes Gary Trent played the last time he was active?
Yeah, 39, I think it was.
Yeah.
But also, this is a left calf strain.
Dude. Nick Nurse will tell him to cut his leg off.
Come back here, I'll bite your legs off.
Nick
Name
Nurse,
that movie.
Nick Nurse is going to come to him and say, we got to play in game to make you playing.
Tis but a flesh wound.
The thing, though, that is a little bit annoying, though, is even giving Gary Trent all of those minutes, I get to a projection of 32 fantasy points for him, and he's $6,100 on DraftKings. So, like, he's still playable, but it's not like we're looking at some, like, outrageously valuable play now, because he's still kind of expensive.
Brandon Clark starting. He started last game, but, like, I didn't know if they were going to. 4,500.
It'll make him more interesting, but
I mean, I am getting to Toronto. My God, Chris Boucher.
Memphis. Yeah, Brandon Clark, now that he's confirmed the starting lineup. I didn't really think about it, but yeah, I'm going to end up playing some of Brandon Clark now as well.
This is a good time to be hanging out here after lock. That's for sure. If you guys hung out for this last half hour, life is a lot better for you. Also, no house advantage. Go play this Pascal. Go play versus the house right now. They still have Pascal Siakam sitting there. 6.5 rebounds? That's too few. Scotty Barnes, 6.5 rebounds? That's too few. Let's see. Pascal. Yeah, they took the points one off the board now, so that one's gone. Scotty Barnes, his points is now gone too. So only rebounds are left. But before, those points were just absolute jams. It was 23.5 and 16.5 for Gary Trent. That would have been a lot of fun. Yep, that's off the board now too at no house advantage.
Take Siakam over. I like over the. We can't put him in the same one, but I like over points and rebounds for Siakam there.
Love it.
Yeah. Siakam. Oh, did the other one just get taken down? The points?
Yep. Just got taken down.
Oh, in real time, we watched it come off the board.
You did.
I still like the over for rebounds, though. Siakam's going to play a shit ton tonight.
All right. So Clark starting. This is fascinating stuff. Because again, Sixers, not the best situation, but like it's still fantastic. He's 4,500 and a good fantasy point per minute guy. Like there's a ton of upside. He's somebody that I'm not willing to pass on. Toronto, did you get everything updated there? Because I have lots of Chris Boucher.
I don't have my lineups updated. I have to late swap them right now, but I think I'm what I want to do with minutes. I'm all set on that. Like, I think I think in the absence of Fred VanVleet, I think we're going to see a lot of Gary Trent and then just a lot of the other guys that we were already expecting to play a bunch. But I think a lot of the minutes are going to just go to Gary Trent. And I think Anunoby he's still going to be somewhat limited, but I think we see him play more than we would have anticipated otherwise. And I'm going to play a lot of Brandon Clark.
God, I'm just not sold on the Gary Trent OG thing the way that you are. And like, I think that's where, again, what are you going to do? Gary Trent's come off the bench earlier this season, but like, I think just like the makeup of this team without Fred VanVleet out there, I'm still like, because we have him now. We just updated our stuff. We have Boucher at 18 minutes. Obviously, you wouldn't want to play him at that. I put Boucher in for 25 minutes, and I'm getting him in like everything because I do take a couple away from Boucher or from OG and a couple from Gary Trent based on what we have right now. And it's a 4,200 Chris Boucher who's over a fantasy point per minute guy, and no Fred VanVleet out there. It just feels impossible that in that second unit, he's not the dude. Even though if there is such thing as a second unit for Toronto because of Nick Nurse rotations.
So what did our full minutes here? This is, I think we have it not too dissimilar from what I was saying before. We've got 34 to Gary Trent, 29 to Anunoby, 25 for Precious Achiuwa. I'm a little bit higher on Trent, but it still doesn't make him a priority play because he's $6,100 on DK.
Yeah. What is it? Somebody just said exactly what I think all the time. I'm not getting the Boucher angle explain. So there are multiple times when Gary Trent's been out, when these other guys have been out, that we have seen Chris Boucher play upwards of like 27, 28 minutes. It's happened multiple times. If he does that, you really want a guy who's a fantasy point per minute guy at 4,200. If I'm wrong and Gary Trent and OG just play their normal minutes, those Chris Boucher shares are dead. Like I'm pretty sure on this kind of a slate, it's difficult. Like it's very, very difficult. But the reason that I do like it is one, nobody's going to play him. I'm the only person that you have talking about him right now. Two, there's no opportunity like now to be able to just guess and be right about it because I can react to it later in the night based on how my lineups are doing. And it's a low-owned piece of value that nobody else is playing. So like he's 4,200. And if for some reason, it's not crazy to think that OG coming off of what was his? This was a wrist issue, I know. But Gary Trent, lower body injury. If either one of those two play fewer minutes than we expect, it's all going to Chris Boucher. Like, I can't imagine a scenario where he isn't the guy that ends up on the floor a little bit more.
I mean, there's been just to play because for clarity, I understand your reason. I'm not playing him though, right? Okay. I just gave the minutes to other guys, but I understand why you're getting to him.
I'm going to put him at 20 minutes and I'm going to see what I get.
Nick Nurse rotations as well, though. Like, I mean, there's been spots in the past where everybody's been out for Toronto. Chris Boucher's been super popular. And then it's like some guy we've never heard of ends up playing minutes. And like Chris Boucher plays less minutes than normal for some reason.
Yeah, it ends up being, what's his name? Wisekamp, the Joe, whatever.
But I do think, I think Precious Achiuwa plays more minutes than Boucher. I think Malachi Flynn could play more minutes than Boucher.
See, I don't think that. I think they probably Malachi Flynn is one of the worst defenders in the NBA. He is so bad. You would not want him on a floor. And this is going to be a team that if they want to do anything, it's all predicated on defense. Like they have to improve in that regard. They're 20th in defensive rating this season. It is just a major point of weakness, but adding Jakob Poeltl, getting OG back and healthy has been the priority. And obviously they held on to him for a reason there. Happy to just kind of wait out, figure out the contract stuff later. OG Anunoby, though, like he could play some real defense, as can Scotty Barnes. I expect them to positively regress in that department, but you still need something off the bench. And like Malachi Flynn sure ain't that. He's a terrible fantasy point per minute producer. Not that matters in terms of like what we're talking about. We're just talking about it from a real basketball perspective. But Malachi Flynn could not guard you, Greg.
I have a feeling he could.
No, I've seen you. You got that sweet stroke, baby.
All right. So there we go. We got it from Eric, who's more familiar with watching me stroke than Eric. So Eric claims that I could not be guarded by Malachi Flynn.
You could not.
All right.
I know it's hyperbole, okay? It's just, but I'm saying it is what it is.
All right. So
Ayo, Dosunmu.
For me, by the way, my favorite player on all that aside, the player I got the most exposure to from the Raptors was Jakob Poeltl.
Pascal Siakam for me.
Yeah, Jakob Poeltl. It's less opportunity for them to go small. And Jakob Poeltl, last game Poeltl avoided foul trouble, played 37 minutes. He if he does not foul, we could see like 40 plus minutes from Poeltl in some of these games. And there's just less opportunity to go. And also, New Orleans is a bigger team. I think Poeltl plays a ton.
We're 20 minutes into this. We haven't once reacted to anything going on in the games, which is just wild to think about this slate. Jokic,
well, I don't even know what's happening in
6-2.
the games because I'm trying to make sure my my lineups are good. By the way, also, I think Josh Richardson, now that he's starting, is a viable.
I like him.
Option
Yep,
as well.
agree.
So let's recap the changes of what's happened since lock. Fred VanVleet is out. I think that makes a bunch of guys from Toronto look better. The ones that the one I personally ended up liking the most was Jakob Poeltl. I think we could see Gary Trent play a bunch of minutes now. Brandon Clark is starting for the Memphis Grizzlies. I love getting a Brandon Clark now. I think he quickly becomes one of the top value options on the slate. And then finally, we have the Josh Richardson news. He is starting for the Pelicans in my player pool. Not like crazy priority, but I have double-digit exposure to him. Josh Richardson.
Richardson, yeah, me too.
But, and you know, if it wasn't for all of the Portland guys, I probably would have like him in like half my lineups. It's just hard to prioritize him over Portland value.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to play like more than I have 24%. Does that seem about right?
Of
Josh Richardson. He's 4K. That's a little bit much.
It's more than I have, but it's not terrible.
Yeah. Let's tone this down. All right.
Early results, by the way.
Cool.
Jokic has 6 points and 2 rebounds in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Let's go.
Kind of nondescript.
Well, I just want him to keep it going. It's better than 0.
This is true. From the Cleveland side of the game, absolutely nobody's doing anything. Their leading scorer is Evan Mobley with 6 points, and he has no other stats. Also, Jared Allen and Isaac Okoro are both in foul trouble for the Cavs.
Yeah, that'll do it for you. How's Tatum doing? 3-4-1. That's a nice little start too.
Yeah, 3-4-1 for Tatum. Time Lord Robert Williams, 7 points and a rebound. From the other side of the game, Pacers doing nothing.
Nothing. And same thing. Oh God, this Orlando box score. Jeez, Pete. It's all Jalen Duren. 5 boards, of course. Literally just get him off the floor so Bojan can get 4 for me. That'd be great. Thank you.
Killian Hayes, 2 points, 2 assists, and a rebound. I guess that's not terrible. But yeah, I mean, in general, 11-12 game halfway through the first quarter, that game is just death for fantasy, at least as far
as Siakam a lock? Absolutely not a lock. There's nobody who's a lock on this slate other than if you had to lock somebody, Keon Johnson.
So, I mean, obviously, I think Siakam looks a lot better now, but still we run into the issue of, and by the way, I'm going to actually amend this. On FanDuel, Siakam's one of my favorite power forwards. DraftKings, it's a little difficult to spend all the way up for him. He's only $9,300 on FanDuel. Love that price tag for Siakam. So I would prioritize him on FanDuel. Yes. DraftKings, I can't prioritize him on DraftKings.
Yeah, I have 12% of him. I want everybody to know I only ended up with 14% Chris Boucher. So don't come at me on Twitter. Do not do it. Do not do it. Do not do it. You're going to do it anyway. I know you.
If we are, that game locks, 6 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. 10 minutes from now, if Chris Boucher is not one of the highest scoring fantasy players on this slate, at Eric Lindquist on Twitter and let him know your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, just let me know. Let me know.
Also, keep in mind that Chris Boucher, how Eric's opinion of Chris Boucher drastically influences how well Chris Boucher does or doesn't play. Keep it in mind. And Eric's Twitter handle is, once again, what is it? What's your Twitter handle?
At Eric Lindquist. You're so mean to me. I don't know why I'm here.
I want to make sure you're promoted properly.
Thank you so much. That was what you were concerned about. Thank you.
Yes. At Eric Lindquist, everybody follow him on Twitter and make sure that he knows what ends up happening with Chris Boucher tonight. He likes to hear from you guys.
I really hate it here.
What if he nukes the slate?
What if he does?
Will you get imagine
will you get canceled? Because
here's what's going to happen tonight. Chris Boucher is going to score 60 fantasy points. Eric is going to tweet in all capital letters, Boucher nuked the slate, and he will get kicked off Twitter permanently. That's my protection for the slate.
Well, I'm just going to use the nuclear emoji because I'm sharp like that. I have my workarounds. Oh, how much Boucher did I? Not Boucher. Eric, make sure you leave your DMs open. Yeah, those should get closed immediately.
You got to have them. Oh, by the way, super chat. Joseph Corona, Gary Trent and Harden / Fox, or SGA and THT for cash. SGA and THT and cash. THT and cash for sure.
Correct.
Just make sure there was no more super chats here. Stan Van Dam, utility on DK, Siakam, or Ja. That's still Ja for me.
Ja, ooh la la.
Who, by the way, I also like for over 0.5 points over on NHA. Still
seems pretty good. Oh, it's still up? That's great.
Before it was still up there.
Fire it up.
How much marketing are you getting to on FanDuel? Thanks. So the run that I had on FanDuel, I had 33% marketing.
I'm not playing FanDuel, so I'm going to trust you.
Yeah, so I am not playing on FanDuel, but I built lineups for it just to answer people's questions.
What a good human being. I don't answer questions. I'm a diva.
Oh, you don't. All right, that has us caught up on the super chat. Now let's go check out the Discord channel to see what we got. Oh, sorry, one more. Robert Kamachula, Sabonis or Siakam on FanDuel? It's still Sabonis for me.
On FanDuel?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see the price. You just said Siakam looked really, really good on FanDuel as well. I like them both.
Also, Sabonis is only 9,600 on FanDuel.
There you go. I like Sabonis more.
Nobody knows.
But it's provocative.
Who's to say?
It's just his name. Don't mind it.
I've been saying it this way for years, and he hasn't corrected me yet.
There you go. So, Jordan Klein, how about you just stick to doing your job and shut up? How about that?
Jordan. Robert,
yeah, keep giving
last name
Hogwarts Legacy. Look at me. Avada Kedavra.
Yeah.
Wingardium Leviosa. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Yeah, exactly. Jordan is absolutely Hermione Granger if she went to Hufflepuff.
Expecto Patronum.
Let's see.
You're such a Hufflepuff. It's not even funny, Jordan Klein. Dude, bro, chill. Hufflepuff. I feel like Hufflepuff's where you want to go if you want to blow off some steam, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you know what I meant.
They do nothing of interest at Hufflepuff. By the way, Jokic, 8 points, 5 boards, 2 assists now.
Seems
at our
good.
guy go.
Seems
Look at our guy go. Also, he has 8 points on 1 of 1 shooting from the field. 6 of 6 from the line.
Seems useful.
They're hacking him up. Robert, if how I pronounce your last name is upsetting you, because Jordan's very upset by it, throw it into YouTube chat. I'll make sure I have
what's gotten into Eric lately, LOL? I'm having fun. Sorry. My bad. Won't do it again. James Wiseman, bad pass. Get ready for a lot of that, Detroit.
Yeah. Also, terrible catches. He's the worst hands I've ever seen.
All right. We got 1 rebound out of Bojan in this first quarter. That's all that matters. That's all I cared about. Get me
Lippy said he got to 70% of Clark. Is that an issue? I do not think that's an issue.
How much Clark did I even get to? I don't think I got to all that much Clark. Not as much as I wanted to.
XX Cubs fan 23XX. Sabonis and Nasir Little or Clark and Markkanen on FanDuel. That is Clark and Markkanen for me.
Clark and Markkanen.
Lippy says he's getting Scotty Barnes now. Yeah, I mean, anybody from the Raptors is going to look slightly better now than they did before.
Correct.
No follow-up from Robert if I pronounce his name incorrectly.
So you didn't, and Jordan should just be quiet from here on out on streams. It's ironic because he talks when you don't want him to, and then he doesn't talk when you kind of prompt him to. It's very upsetting.
And now he's crying.
Want to play golf tomorrow? What are we doing? Are you working? You're not working? Dude, bro, chill time. Oh, I'm working. I have a show. Never mind.
All right, guys. That is going to bring us to lock. If you haven't signed up in No House Advantage yet, go do it. Use our link. You're going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first sign up and get access to stuff like John Morant, over 0.5 points. Take advantage of that. And then also, we've got NBA Bet Pro that's going to help you identify the best plays over at NHA, right available on Stokastic.com. You get a 1 week free trial by clicking on the link below. So check that out as well. That is going to do it for us. Happy to be back. We've got NBA back in action. Portland, don't do anything weird. Play the game today. Good luck. See you guys back here tomorrow.
Reggie Jackson in the game.